Oh, you know
Hey,
what?
what is up, everyone? Anyone in the chat? If you're here, don't know, don't see the data as of yet, but hanging out with Second Street Marvel. It's been a while trying to get him on my channel, figuring out our schedules. Always love seeing his content. I never know what he's going to say about a topic. We'll definitely cover recent stuff watching on your channel. And I'm like, wow, I didn't see this angle coming, given your usual spin. But yeah, I'm glad to have you, man. How's it been going?
Doing well, doing well. Been just busy as hell these past couple months with my business and everything. So haven't really been dropping as many videos on the channel as much as live streaming. And so looking forward, not busy right now, getting ready to get back into actually making some videos and some content and everything.
Hell yeah. Definitely want to see you make more essay style. Like I like you got a natural poise carrying yourself in your reviews of a comic and everything. You got it kind of well stored while you're going through it with the viewer. But I definitely like seeing when you do you've taken a crack or two at doing created, crafted videos about reviewing. So I want to see some of that more splashed in this year.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I've got some new equipment, so hopefully, it's made things easier already. So nice. Yeah.
What are some comics that you're like following the pulse of right now, or that you're like, I can't wait to get that? That's gonna be like a day one new comic book day purchase and or review.
Probably one of the my favorites just coming out of last year is one called I Walk with Monsters on Vault Comics. It's a freaking great book. Kind of the subject matter that we're talking about more so than anything. And it's on Vault Comics Nightfall line, which is kind of like their horror books. But they do horror a little bit different on Vault Comics. And this book, just like what it's dealing with, was really great. Like it brought me in issue number 1. It was dealing with child predators. And
I think I heard you talk about this, but I didn't like store it. Like, oh, that's okay.
Yeah, and it was very good in that sense. But just kind of the way it's going about dealing with the issue and getting going through the story and everything. It's been interesting, and it's only 2 issues in, and I think I haven't done a top 10 of the 2020 because I was waiting for this last week for that actual book to come out, because I'm like, man, I don't know, I got to see how issue 2 is, and it's great. It was great.
Yeah. For me, it sucks because like right now my job, I'm doing 2 on 2 off, so it's like every other week or every like couple weeks, depending how like the days fall. I might have to wait and delay getting books on top of like it's money, and like I only got like a finite budget for a pull list, and I'm a slow reader, so all that combined, it's like it's inconsistency with coverage, and then I just got I'm kind of like scrolling. I grew up with ADHD, and that's festered, that's manifested more mentally. So I can have like my finger on the pulse of a lot of things, but like focusing is hard. And so it's like, okay, that's cool. And this, I'm trying to read the Marvel Fresh Start. Started back in like 2018. I've read a few issues of like the big event starting before you get into the actual, what do you call it? The actual storylines per character and all that. Because I want to read Venom, but I want to like read the backstory to build into the whole current universe.
Right, with the Donny Cates stuff.
Yeah, I love what I've read of Donny Cates indie stuff. God Country, I tell people like this, and
stick to that stuff. Stuff.
No. I know you've made a turn. We'll talk about that. But God Country and Superman for All Seasons. In my novice history, the last couple of years, getting into comic books, those are the 2 stories that have like made me shed a tear. I'm like, damn, this got it, because it was father-son storytelling, and it just hit me sideways. Like, damn, they really get the sentiment of being a dad or a son. That bond. Because my son's firstborn. I don't know necessarily if he's my favorite right now. So my daughter's got a lot better personality with her cuteness being 3. But long term, I guess my son would definitely get the favorite role. You know, the male bond. It's natural, firstborn male. Um, you know, lately I've been getting him collection stuff for his Star Wars, and you know, just toy collecting. I'm getting him into that already. He's only 5, and it's like, oh, when are we gonna play with your toys? I'm like, never. They stay on the wall. Like, this is nerd life, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
He doesn't quite get it, but he's happy seeing his collection grow. And older he gets, I think he'll appreciate it. But yeah, you've made a turn recently. I'm surprised, given that you're kind of like aware of Comicsgate, but you're like, I like other things too. But you've taken this new stance of like, fill me in, because I'm still not fully understanding. You've kind of taken an anti-Big Two stance recently.
Not really. Just, I mean, they're stories that I'm reading. They're just not worth. I'm not excited to read them. You know what I mean? The books come out, and I'm like, and it's not like there's bad storytelling or anything. It's just storytelling that's like, it doesn't get me engaged. It doesn't get me excited to read the next issue. I mean, I get done reading an issue, and I'm like, I read it. I read it. I guess I'll read the next one. It's Captain America, right? It's Spider-Man. It's hey, I'll read it. And to me, it's just not exciting. I don't feel engaged by it. Even with like some of the X-Men stuff, like I was for a while, and then now it's just kind of like, like, can you just like reading House of X and Powers of X, and that's part of it. Is like, from what I read of House of X and Powers of X in there, I'm reading the story like, in the end, this isn't really going to matter anyway. The journey is going to be interesting to get there, but they've kind of made it not too interesting either, considering that we already know the end. I mean, when you kind of realize that, it's like, and I'm reading through and I'm like, everything's kind of happening like I figured it would.
Tell me the, like, what are you projecting the end is, or is it because of the like future timelines you get in House and Powers, you think you know the ending, or like walk me through that? Because I bought the hardcover of House and Powers of 10.
Yeah, well, what it is like all the story is in there. They lay everything out there that you need to know. There's now a lot of people are talking about like they're retconning in this storyline and all this stuff, and they're not. What they're doing is, what it is basically an Elseworlds story is what's going to end up happening. Because what you see through the course that they lay out in House of X and Powers of X is these 10 lives that Moira has lived, right? And they show you all 10 of these lives, what she's done in her past lives and everything. And if you look at the 10th life is exactly what we've known Moira throughout the comics, throughout the history of the comics. Now, I'm not going to act like I'm some sort of professional, and I know that for fact. But if you look at the timeline, everything that happens in that timeline, she gets married to Joseph McTaggart. She becomes Moira McTaggart and Proteus, and just like the kids and all that stuff. And like everything there is the timeline that we've known Moira historically. And then that's the 10th life. Everything before that was just her previous lives where she was going through living all this stuff and learned all these things and realized all this stuff. And in the end, what you find out is she's going to end up dying. She's going to start her life back over and not she's going to be a passive participant at that point. And they explain that in the House of X and Powers of X, where if she does everything like that she'd done normally, becomes just a passive participant in it all, then things carry out how they always would. Where if she interjects and does something different, obviously, messing with time, it ends up different. And we know that at some point she's not going to be able to reincarnate again. And that would be after the life that she's living right now. She dies and she's reborn again and decides to live her life normal, like she always did in the original timeline, which is the 10th life.
Yeah, I guess I kind of can see that. I never thought fully about where it ends or something. I just like, okay, like this 10th life's going to be the last run. House of 10, X is 10. That's the end, And I like what Hickman did with instead of being like, this is a new X-Men. It's like, no. Everything you've ever read of X-Men is somehow all canonical. It's all part of canon. It's all happened. This is its own timeline that still blends. It's all these things have happened, but because of Moira's power, it's like they've all happened. but like this is something we can learn from and deviate from those timelines, tell a new story while still keeping continuity. That's kind of cool. It's kind of multiverse. It's kind of the cop out like DCEU right now, where it's like everything's part of it, you know. And you can cop out that way, but
yeah, and that's the cool thing, is because like what they've done with the storyline is they've made callbacks to other issues and things that have happened in the past throughout her lives, and references to X-Men titles, old and new, and anywhere in between. Little references, because I mean they even mentioned things throughout in like here in the Dawn of X, referring to the Uncanny X-Men, that just the series that just ended right before all of this restarted. So he's kind of just like really weaving everything into the story, and it's pretty cool. It's cool in that way to see them do that. It's just the storytelling in itself. Like once I've sat down and kind of broke it all down, I've got some videos I'm going to be releasing on it. I'm sitting there trying to break it down. It's almost like I almost see like what they're doing. It's like it's kind of obvious. So it's just the journey of how to get there. And at this point, it's kind of like, I don't know, if you know where it's going to end at, is it really worth the journey?
It's kind of how I feel about the Bible. It's like people. If I grew up through almost every denomination until I became Catholic, and then now I'm an atheist. In large part because of Francis, and so thank you, Francis, being Pope. One day I'll go through that. There's a book that kind of encapsulates the polar opposite, despite the very similar journey. But that's one of the things I talk about. It's like the end is already written. You win. God wins. Like, what's the point? It's all you can't say it's not predestined when like the end is like we win. I win, but there's so much good stuff in the book despite that. So,
and that's kind of the thing, though, too, is what is winning? You know, I mean, who wins? What's the victory? You know what? I mean, is it a little victory? Did you win the war? Did you win a battle? What's it just kind of really. I mean, what is it in that movie where they got all philosophical? What was it Rosie Perez? Wasn't that her? It says sometimes when you win, you lose.
Talking about Birds of Prey?
No, certainly not. White men can't jump.
Oh, yes, I never seen that. Sorry. Never saw it. It's before my time, and I've never added it to a list of like, I gotta watch this at some point. It's kind of like, Isn't that Spike Lee?
I don't think so. Is it?
I'm not sure. I saw Black Klansman, and I'm like, I don't know if you saw Black Klansman, but I love Black Klansman until the very ending. The very ending, it's like it shows real world stuff from like Charlottesville, and it's this whole like anti-Trump derangement syndrome from Spike Lee. When because it's based on a true story, so you can dig into it. It's the betrayal and stuff that's really cool. But yeah, it's pretty much this black guy is the on the phone interaction with the Klan, trying to sneak in through like the chapter in Denver or whatever. And he has Adam Driver, who's playing a Jewish guy in the movie, infiltrating as his avatar. So he talks to him, and then it's like he carries it out physically. And so it's really funny, kind of team up buddy cop movie in the way they portray it. And at one point, you got Denzel's son, who's the main character. He's with like the Black Panthers, the black group, the Fist and stuff. And at the same time, they're kind of like Godfather, just showing the Klan people in their initiation, bringing in Adam Driver into the group, watching like I think Birth of a Nation, and they're like white power and stuff, And it's like this two sides of the coin of hate, betrayal. I'm like, thank you. Finally, someone shows it's like, no, the black movement is not like some like saving grace to counter. It is the exact polar opposite. It's its own hate group, or devolved into its own hate group.
Right.
And I'm like, awesome. I'm surprised Spike Lee could do this. And then he ends it with like, Trump's a racist. White people are, it's no different than back then. And it's like, you totally undercut what you just delivered. So it's one of those like frustrating movies for me because of that.
Right. I think I think it's kind of like kind of I guess you could use a MCU euphemism for that. You know, Shield, Hydra, two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, exactly. I like how you brought the comics in. I'm not creative. It's just a chat hanging out with Second Street. Utter Chaos, of course, is where I showcase a channel and just the chat gets to experience them. Maybe they don't know the channel. Of course, I got his link in the description and the banner here to subscribe to Second Street if you already have not. It's a great channel.
Check out my link.
Funny. Yeah, what's funny is I watched your Star Wars theory video. Well, I listened to most of it at work in my helmet, and
most of it you clicked away. You clicked off my video. Like, how much did you watch of it? Are you messing up my algorithm? Are you like messing up my watch time?
5 minutes of that. My battery was crapping out, so that's why I ended it.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
But no, you really surprised me because I thought you were going to be like kind of my take, where it's like, this is bitch made, and you're like channeling very like menace sentiment about it, and I was like, wow, I did not expect this.
Well, my thing with it is like, it's really like, it's the same thing with everything. It's up to the consumer, really. Like, what are you willing to put up with? You know, how much are you willing to take? I mean, kind of like Chillmonger was on there with me talking about as well. Like, vote with your dollar. You know, you either don't support it, don't watch it, unsubscribe to Disney Plus during those times. You know what he's going to do. Just some of those different kinds of things. You know, and if you are subscribed at that same time, just don't watch it. And that's the important thing. Now, the other thing is, like, kind of like you said in your video too, is like, I get it too. Like, Pablo could be making a joke, and that's fine. That's fine. Like, I'm willing to laugh at the joke. Sometimes I think we all take things a little too seriously. And I mean, sure, that could absolutely be the case here. And maybe Pablo Hidalgo was just kidding the whole time. But at the same time, there got to be a point where maybe you look at it and say, and just maybe read the room a little bit and be like, maybe now isn't the time to say or do this. It's not the fact of the joke you're making, it's maybe the timing of it and how you're doing it. I mean, I think a lot of those things go into it. I mean, because I feel the same way when it comes to like people like on the same thing on their social media and on their Twitter and stuff, like these comedians who go out there and do this shock value stuff, and like, you know, then there's backlash like, oh, I was just kidding, I'm a comedian, that's what I do. But then you go through their Twitter, and most of the time they're not posting jokes and stuff, they're being serious the whole time. So it's like, you know, like you as like that, you got to take a look at things, and maybe, I don't know, and I think sometimes maybe we look into that too much as well. So like I said, it's really up to you as the viewer, the person participating, supporting or not supporting these kind of movements and everything. But this whole thing is a funny situation in itself anyway, because the way that everybody is kind of reacting and talking about it as well, this whole situation, it's kind of funny to watch. You know what I mean? It's kind of funny to watch. Where, like I said, I stand in where go what works for you, whatever level of comfortability that you're at. I see people who do videos about comic books that they talk about, you know, daily, weekly, stuff like this, stuff they do not like. They keep reading it, you know, just because, oh, it's a Spider-Man. I've always read Spider-Man, but this sucks. And it's like, well, just stop buying it. Like, I get your collector aspect of it, but I mean, if you're just collecting it anyway, don't read it. Maybe just buy it, let it sit there on the shelf and don't read it, so you don't have to keep going through that if you're going to keep supporting it anyway. But that's what you want to do, right? I mean, I'm not here to tell you. You got to decide that for yourself. And like I said, and that situation is the whole thing, you know, like where, you know, people fire back with stuff like, oh, well, so, you know, then you just like you're completely ignoring it. This company should act this way and that way. And like, yeah, sure, absolutely. I agree with that too. I mean, the company should have some sort of a standard that they want to live up to, that they expect of their employees and things like that. I mean, hell, you go to work at a place even like Walmart, they have policies regarding social media. Nothing that's really going to outright get you any kind of real actionable backlash, other than we just highly discourage you saying stuff about the company or, shit like that, because in some way they will, if people know you, they kind of see you, not necessarily representative of that, but just like exactly this whole situation, what we see going on here with this Pablo Hidalgo thing. And it's funny seeing everybody's different stances and takes on it, because just the varying degrees of which people are talking about it, and the varying degrees of how much people care about it and for what reasons.
Yeah. I watched most of Theory Stream with Drunk, and I'll talk about that in a minute. For one, I stand by my video. I don't know anyone that's going to go by my channel, especially if they're minutes, and they see that video and be like, fuck you, but I stand by it. I even getting more context from Theory. I think the 6-hour window thing was stupid as hell. Because it's like, you don't know what Paulo's doing. Like, okay, he interacts on Twitter for a minute. You don't know if he's sitting on Twitter all day, if he's actually doing stuff with the story group. But clearly, despite the Corona crap, they're still doing stuff at Lucasfilm. Not to say, like, I definitely think Pablo has dug himself a grave with his the trend he has with fans on Twitter before he went private and all that. So it's like Joss Whedon with the Ray Fisher thing. Regardless if it was true or not, he's got a bad track record. So he's an easy target to say he did this thing and everyone's going to believe it. It seems to be true for the Fisher thing, since he got ousted from a show he was running for HBO. But I think I definitely think Pablo and anyone at Lucasfilm or any company should have that standard you're saying. But I think it's kind of an unfair shake he gets in this circumstance. Especially he tried to reach out and it's like, oh no, we're going to be mean about this, but then let me crap on you and make a big fuss on YouTube. And the other thing, there's two things. So I'll address a comment here in a minute. But I don't believe the shit Theory says about, oh, I just post things and I get off and I live my life. It's like, there's a bunch of menace people that consistently watch your channel, and people that probably feel the same way that aren't stating that they're menace or whatever group on Twitter, Facebook that hates Disney Star Wars. He has to have seen like Pedro Pascal, that Instagram post of Nazi, calling Trump supporters Nazis and clans and the comparison. He deleted it. He has to have seen that. He has to have heard that in the comments somewhere. He's not, his bread and butter, he's got all these other channels he runs, is Star Wars. That's why we know him. And for the fact you're like, oh, I didn't know anything. Oh, the fanboy mug thing. Like, come on. I don't buy it. You know all of these things going on, even if you're kind of ignoring it or trying to be a fence sitter and just be a positive Star Wars community with your channel. I don't buy it. And that's the biggest thing. While I'm like, fuck you, man. You now it comes to you get made fun of one time, and you're gonna run with it. I don't buy it. This is to benefit yourself running with this.
Well, I mean, ultimately, I mean, doesn't all the things, I mean, these kind of things, I mean, everybody kind of has their own little agenda, whether they want to or not, or for whatever reasons or not. I mean, he could have easily ignored all of that and not said anything, not done anything. People could have said whatever, and he could have just shrugged it off and be like, whatever. But he didn't, and hey, I mean, I think most people probably wouldn't. I think most people would be like, hey, man, like, what the hell, dude? Like, seriously? Like, what? Like, I think a lot of people would kind of look at that. And obviously, there are a lot of people looking at it anyway. But again, I think a lot of it comes down to however it fits your narrative or your agenda. People are going to look at it and decide for themselves, or maybe let somebody else decide for them.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to address is this comment by Brian, Speaker for the Dead. He says, I didn't like all the Phantom Menace people who crap on Star Wars Theory. All of a sudden, they all become friends if they think it will help their channels if act outraged. Kind of sad, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree.
Right. Well, I've seen, like, and that's the thing is like, like you see like Ryan Kennel, he did a video. I think one of his first videos he did talking about it, and he's kind of like they're like, oh yeah, I mean it's messed up that Pablo's doing this, but where you been Star Wars series? You had your head buried in the sand. You want to completely ignore it before. Now all of a sudden he takes aim at you and it matters, and it's like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I get that. I totally like the whole sentiment. I mean, it really kind of like for everybody, the perspective comes down to what if it was you? I mean, okay, and then it's easy to say, well, if it's me, I just be like, whatever. But or however, whatever it is, until it's you.
Yeah. No, I liked Ryan's first video. I haven't seen the other ones, but yeah, Ryan was fair in it. I wouldn't say Ryan for sure is disingenuous because he had this stance of like, Lucasfilm employees have been shit to fans. Where have you been this whole time, Star Wars theory? But he still took up for him in that video, despite saying kind of my sentiment. But I stand by it, and I don't change. I'm not whiffing. I'm not saying Ryan's whiffing or anything. But I definitely think there is this general feeling in the minutes where it's like, now it's you, now you're gonna cry. But then it's like, oh, now he's with Jeremy and Drunk 3PO, so now everyone's like, yay, kumbaya. And now he's making the tours, a couple channels with Menace channels, and you're like, this looks weird to me.
Yeah, I think the ultimate good thing about it is people are getting together and they're talking and stuff. I mean, that's the ultimate good thing about all of it. Whatever it takes to get more people together, talking and having fun and realizing like, this really is a bunch of bullshit. I mean, we see, like 2020 put so many people through so much bullshit, and I think a lot of people, I mean, look at the timing of this. I mean, look at, the year's ending. Oh, it's time to, the date on the calendar changed. It's a new year. It's better now. Let's be better.
Yeah, no, this is one thing I never expected, and on props Drunk. My biggest thing, you can see through my channel's history, is I was pro boycott for the sequel trilogy after Last Jedi, with Solo and Rise of Skywalker. I paid for a different movie to see Solo and Rise of Skywalker when I saw them. But I'm fair in my criticism about those films, regardless of like my position about like this is how you should work to actually change things, hit them in the wallet. And for whatever reason, I think it's disingenuous to like say all those things about Lucasfilm or any company, and yet still fund it when you're like saying this needs to change. It's like, it's not going to change if you keep giving them money,
Right.
And I've been
still
critical.
Making millions.
I've been critical.
Like I said,
I've been critical of other ministers who are like, even if this is good Disney Star Wars agenda, blah blah blah. It's like, you keep watching it, so you're part of the problem. If you hate it, why are you watching? It's because no one's going to click on you on your YouTube or your Twitter if you're not following the main thing. If you're just I love Lucas era Star Wars for the 40 years that he ran it, then you pigeonhole yourself in this niche like EU kind of style community. It's not going to like keep you growing or build anything. It's going to be a finite cap to you. And you see it with like, I can't remember the guy's name. He's like the main EU channel. He's not going to grow big because he's not covering Mandalorian and stuff. But then when you're like downing Mandalorian and Lucasfilm and the history of Disney Star Wars, saying it is all better with Lucas stuff, but then you're buying into it still. That's a bit disingenuous to me. For me with comics, it's like I'm not about boycotting comics. I'm not that invested in the fight, but I do support Comicsgate. But I think Comicsgate was the better foundation of fighting the industry. It's like, well, you're not going to do what we ask. Stop the pandering, stop the political crap. We're just going to do our own thing, and that's what the Menace, unfortunately, is not done. Besides, I would say Rookie Critic with his trying to create stuff, and Walton with his book series attempt.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big thing. It's disappointing. It's like I've tried to like rally it, with my following, like, hey, we need to like, this is a problem. We need to do our own things. We need to try to emulate Theory's Vader fan film and fix it in post, but like not established IPs that we can't make money on. We need to fund our own things. It's going to be slow burn. You got to do like Cinestate. Cinestate appeals to the proverbial white Trumpers, but that's not his goal. He's just like, I'm making things that aren't like the mainstream, and it's working long term. And for some reason, won't like in large won't like buy into that to really solidify movement. Because like 5-10 years from now, what will Menace be? It'll just be more commentary, or we're actually gonna like coalesce, collectivize, and try to make something, make our own media projects. That's what I think really meant. But what I was getting to is like, I tipped the hat to Drunk. He went he's presented a route I didn't foresee or think was possible in having this kind of something like this event unite fans across the board. I didn't foresee something like this possible. I thought it'd have to be the niche like Menace thing, but it is a good effect from the Star Wars theory issue with Pablo is uniting some people you didn't really see coming together.
Right, right. And you can see pushback too. There's people out there like, oh no, like don't do this. You know, like Theory's had some pushback from stuff like that too. Like, oh, you're teaming up with the fandom menacers and all that. They're like, ah. You know, and that's the thing is like that's kind of the issue with just about everything is, you know, everybody treats all these little things like it's a monolith. Like, you know, it's like all these things there's individuals within this whole system. And that's the thing with all of these things, whether it's your fandoms, your politics, all of these different things is and I've been trying to say this for a while is that the things that the differences that you have with somebody else about these things are what's supposed to bring you together to have those discussions, not to divide you apart. You're already divided to begin with in your thought. So the mere fact that you're supposed to come together, those things that you're divided about are supposed to bring you together to discuss those things, not to divide you. You're already divided. You know what I mean? And so it's ridiculous. And a lot of people just don't want to do that. But then again, a lot of people don't know how to act right when it comes to those times as well. So.
Yeah, I would say that's another thing is like, oh, Lucasfilm sucks, but then you like make it an art or something like, look, I did your stuff better than you, but fuck you. And it's like, why don't you just make your own thing and promote that, you know, instead of like having to nag on something that you're like against already.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Not going to like amend, you know, just make some kind of like, oh, fuck you, you're not my customer. Why would I want to pander to you if you're just going to crap on me all the time? That's the other thing where it's like this angle isn't conducive for growth or healing and going in a better direction for fans.
Right.
It's, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. The and that's the thing is like for me, like my whole thing is like I've been saying, like you have to actually decide your own level of comfortability of what you want to support, and that also comes with people that you want to interact and talk to. I mean, a lot of people, you know, when they have their stance, they don't like to talk to other people outside of that. You know, like you could take a look at the Raylo community. Do you think they want to talk to anybody in the Fandom Menace? Probably not.
Hey, you know, it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that. Okay, so Raylo, yeah, they're weird. Raylos are weird as a generality, but I really hate Alita and the Alita Army, the sequel people. Fuck that movie. I hope it never happens. Or if it does, I'm going to laugh when she becomes a Disney hero because of the general sentiment in America around that movie was let's counter Captain Marvel, and now Disney owns it. And that's so funny.
Right.
Now you're like, please, Disney, you're like, please give it to us. It's like those same people are anti, and it's like you couldn't even hit 100 million in America. This, besides a streaming show or movie, once they release Disney Plus in China and or Japan, that's the only potential for like this will happen, because that's who funded 3/4 of the movie was Asia. And yeah, but no, with Raylos compared to Alita, I was about to say Antifa, Alita, or sorry, Raylos, they at least have a kind of, even though it's a really weird narrative that they cherish at the end, with especially the girls, it's like, well, they're hoping to find their own Kylo. You know, it's got this productiveness to it in the sense of, cause I'm red pill and stuff. I dig into the real deep red pill channels on this, and at the end of the day, Raylos want something productive. They want a relationship, you know, and you assume with that there's like a growth of person and or a family to be had from it. So it's productive at the end of the day, the fantasy. It's no different than like girls wanting to be a princess and find the Prince Charming and have their little princes and princesses. So it's a productive mindset that I can support at the least, even if they're weird about it. And you have some of the extremists who have like, you know, wished and pushed for death of Adam Driver's wife and kid, and for Daisy Ridley to leave her fiance and whatnot, you know, get the weird crap behind it. But yeah. Really quick, we got Movie Madness Entertainment, Mad Max in the house watching. He says, wow, they're at 2nd Street. I remember looking fresh Trinity. Yeah, he shaved the beard. I do miss that beard. You got a gnarly beard, man. You should keep it. I know you do the weight loss thing, and it's like, look how thin I am. I fooled you with my beard on top of it. We got Mike Porter, Trinity's favorite porter in the house. Thanks for joining. I'm Not Creative says Raylos are weird. I don't deny that.
Yeah, hey, I'm not into shipping and stuff like that, but hey, if that's what you want to do, hey, whatever floats your boat, you know, hey, fill that river with water or lake or whatever. Hey, go at it.
Yeah, and I got something else to add from like a red pill perspective that's kind of broadened my understanding of Raylo. Subconsciously, I'll say that in a minute. We got Mexican Iron Man in the house with this $10 super chat. I appreciate it, man. He says, "Hail Black Angus, super fired up to see 2nd Street here. His videos and streams of late have been super on point and killing it. I recommend everyone zip over to 2nd's channel. Solidly good contact." Yeah, again, I have the banner here. He is his links in the description.
Appreciate that, Mexican Iron Man.
With my red pill view of Kylo and why I can kind of tip the hat to him a degree. People go on this, they talk about SJWs and their view of things. You've seen plenty of the videos about like, oh, it's rapey, he mind rapes her business, and she's like falling in love. It's a flawed, messy, abusive relationship to ship and all this. And it's like, there's a reason girls like this, okay? If you watch Rollo Tomasi, he talks about, I can't remember the condition, but there's a reason you can't have women guards in male prisons, because so often, despite them being rapists and murderers, women fall for these guys, because at the end of the day, women are opportunistic in their love and their relationship kind of values. They think, well, what does it do for me and my children? You look at like the Animal Kingdom. The girls don't like turn on the new male line who kills the previous leader of the pride, because like they don't have this subconscious view of like, oh, you murdered my love and this and that. Like, no, they just fall suit with the new lion who takes over, because he's shown he can protect them. He took out their previous protection. And that's the subconscious view of women with criminals. Like, they have these alpha traits, even if it's like morally bad, they show it like they're protectors and providers. And those selfish qualities can lend support to the woman and her offspring. And so with Kylo, it was like, yeah, he's abusive, he's a dark sider, this and that. At the end of the day, these are subconscious traits that show protector, provider value for a woman. So it makes sense that a woman would like that. You know, you can argue the morality, but like women subconsciously don't think that way. So, you know, the red pill only accentuates the value of Raylo, unfortunately.
Right. So basically what you're saying is that Jefe from the Three Amigos had it right. If you want the woman, you take the woman.
Yeah, to a degree. Yeah, sure. I guess I can. Never seen it, but that's
my God,
that's Martin Short movie, right?
You're a kid though, right? You're a kid.
I'm 28.
You're a youngster. You're a youngster.
That's between. Hey, well, you know, I don't buy into that. You know, people say like, "Oh, you hate Ghostbusters because you're too young to get it." You know, blah blah blah. It's like, dude, Citizen Kane is amazing. Comedy does not age well, and if you don't grow up with Ghostbusters, I think you can come into it and be like, "This isn't great. It's a scattershot plot and tone." That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Content. Okay, he meant to say content, but yeah, Steve Martin. That's what I was saying. It's a Steve Martin movie, right?
Yeah, Steve Martin's in it. Yeah, Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, Martin Short. Other people you probably don't like. You're probably one of those. Are you one of those Chevy Chase haters? Are you a Chevy Chase hater?
Not a hater. I just don't think he's very funny. I don't. I've looked at
Oh,
a lot of his body work. I'm just like overrated. Uh,
I knew it.
One
I
thing,
knew it.
I could go with the flow and be like, yeah, it's so great, but like I got to be honest, like, that's my channel. I'm integrity to my beliefs and stuff, So that's what's hurt
Yeah.
me is I don't
I
go with
to-
the flow.
I totally get how somebody could not like Chevy Chase. I mean, I just like for me, it's just like him. He just like nobody else can do what he does, even though a lot of people do the same kind of things that he does. He's just good at what he does. I mean, look at Steve Carell is kind of like that. Steve
I
Carell
fucking love Steve Carell.
yeah. I was gonna say he's kind of like a newer version of a Chevy Chase, where he's somebody like really only he can do that kind of stuff. Some of his sarcastic humor and the things that he does, some of his physical humor when doing some of the roles. So I mean, I totally get people not liking Chevy Chase.
Yeah, no, I totally get the view of okay, so I'm a huge Office fan. I watched that show entirely 4 times, but originally I saw the first season when I was deployed in Afghanistan. We had this runt infantry guy. His sister sent him a bunch of care packages, and one of them had The Office season 1 that he put in like our library to watch. So I watched it, and I'm just like, this is what people talk about? This is fucking awful. And my wife, when we were pregnant with my son, she's like, oh, let's watch it. My sister loves it. And I'm like, that show is fucking awful. She's like, okay, well, let's start at season 2, So, and it started growing on me. And I thought about doing essays about how Jim Halpert is like a bully and how like he gets the girl by being an alpha, despite falling into like these beta roles and stuff. He wins Pam because he's an alpha. She's always on his mind because, when she moves on, he's like, well, fuck it, I got this new girl, and then Pam's stuck longing for him and stuff. She's alpha widowed eventually. So it's funny stuff. And I love the dynamic of Dwight and stuff, but I totally get people don't like the comedy doesn't resonate, doesn't hit because it's such an off way to do comedy. So I get it, but like comedy is like the weakest genre for me. Comedy, what everyone likes, I usually hate because it's just not funny. It's like mass appeal. It's got no real angle. Racist humor gets me because it's like it hits on stereotypes.
I think it's probably because it's in the form of a sitcom. It's kind of like little snippets if you think about it. And to me, I mean, I think that's kind of what makes comedy. And like, I honestly think that exactly like you're saying, I think that's what makes comedy harder than drama because I think drama is a lot easier to do. It's a lot easier to convey. That's why when it comes to movies that are comedies, good comedies are a lot harder to come by because a good comedy, it's going to have stuff, it's going to have truthisms in it while being funny and maybe being it's going to shake you, and it's not for everybody. Not everybody's brand of humor is the same, but I think it's a lot harder to do because comedy is all about timing, and really a lot of that when it comes to like movies and things like that also, especially even TV shows, is all the little things that go along with that, like the little micro expressions and actually going through with doing a lot of those kinds of things. And I think comedy is just a lot harder of a thing to do. And that's why I think that's really why people are so selective when it comes to things like comedies.
Well, the other thing too, I think with something like Ghostbusters, Caddyshack, some like classic comedies, Christmas Story, a lot of the comedies I hate, they have a nostalgia factor. Now I get like with Christmas Story, like, oh, there's this, every kid's got this thing that they always wanted and stuff. And so that story is conveyed. And so you can subconsciously buy into that aspect despite the comedy that they're presenting. But the movie just doesn't resonate with me. And I think it's because of nostalgia. So look at NFL. I remember when I was stationed in Fort Drum, New York, one of the guys in my office I worked with, he was from Alabama, but he's a Steelers fan. And it's like, well, like what? How's that work? And you dig into the history of the NFL. College is what captivated America with football after baseball's kind of falling off with the public. And they had to deal with, I think, CBS or NBC. And so Notre Dame was always in the spotlight. So that's why you get a lot of Dame fans on top of just they were like top team all the time. And so you look at the NFL when they were rising, it wasn't let's show all the games. It's like we need the money makers. So it was the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Browns at the start when they were falling off. The Broncos with Elway, but it's like they always showcase like the prime teams or tried to. Namath, despite him falling off because he didn't really capture he didn't capture the country in his heyday. It was like he just had that popularity already from being a Super Bowl winner and upsetting the Colts. But it makes sense why you get these teams, the Packers, the Cowboys, the Steelers, that have like a huge fan base because they were the first to get the spotlight. Now you got every team competing, and you got the 32-piece pie of everyone makes a 32-piece cut in the NFL, despite whatever the sales and ratings are. So they're all invested. That's why you get these rules and stuff that happen every year. But I think that there's a similarity. It's like, what are you seeing? And then it's like with comedy, you get a lot of nostalgia where it's like, these are the things that popped up. They were popular in the moment, and then they were the first ones to get on like home media or replays on TV. So that's what you're seeing every year, or your parents are raising you with. And so if someone like me wasn't raised with some of these iconic pieces of cinema, I come to it fresh, hopeful, knowing the raise it. Oh, this is gonna be awesome. I see it. I'm like, this is awful. Spaceballs. I can't stand it, man. It's not the one thing that made me laugh in Spaceballs was the opening of the super long ship. It's just a stupid comedy thing, but it hit me. I'm like, that's funny because it just keeps going and going and going. It's like a Family Guy joke, and I can appreciate where Family Guy is built from Mel Brooks, but Mel Brooks isn't funny to me in large little aspects you can show like, okay, that's funny. But I really think nostalgia plays a big part in why people think something's funny long term versus someone fresh to it like me. And also comedy doesn't age well because what's funny 20 years ago, now it's like everyone's done that. It's old.
Absolutely.
It's not edgy. Absolutely. What 20 years ago is not edgy now. That's why I think The Office and Friends has lasted so long, is because it's like situational, where it's like no matter the time, these situations can be relatable. I think it says something about the Three Stooges.
Just kind of like Seinfeld. Yeah, exactly. Three Stooges as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Three Stooges will always be funny, at least to kids, or just as like simple. It's just like it's so ridiculous. It's like live action Looney Tunes. The situations they put themselves in, hitting each other and shit. I show it to my kid. Yeah. He's dying. It's like that was me when I was 5, and I still laugh at the shit. And SpongeBob has the same kind of humor elements. What's crazy about SpongeBob is I was watching some of the old stuff recently, like the Magic Conch. And it's like, oh my God, this is not just funny for little jokes, but it's funny because this is kind of the argument of coincidence and religion.
Right.
It's deeply philosophical on top of just stupid humor. It's masked with SpongeBob and Patrick, but it's really deep actually.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like, speaking of which, makes me, everybody's been talking about this new movie, Soul. Have you seen Soul yet?
I need to re-up my Disney subscription. So me and Rookie, he shares his HBO Max and I share Disney. So we're not both paying for it, But I haven't re-upped. And Rookie isn't really invested in the Disney stuff like Mandalorian. He's seen a couple episodes, but he's like, whatever. So it'll be a long. It's all right that I haven't re-upped just yet. But especially when we get the, what do you call it? The stimulus, I'll re-up, of course. But
yeah,
yeah, you're talking about Soul.
Talking my language. The thing is, like, I noticed like everybody's talking about this movie. I was like, oh my God, like this movie is so insightful. Like this movie isn't a movie for kids. Oh, they're talking about these things, all the meaning of life and all this stuff. It's like, it's just like everybody's kind of riding that high. Like, like when, like the same high I see everybody like with a lot of these shows that trend, like what was that last one? The people, the one about the social experiment. No, the social is that what it's called? No, the social dilemma.
Yeah. With the social media.
Everybody's like, oh my God, like, oh, these things are so evil. Just all this stuff is like, yeah. I mean, like, like everybody's like, it's the latest thing for everybody. Like, oh my God, it's so mind blowing, and like Soul. I'm like, yeah. I mean, I've seen plenty of movies just like this when I was growing up. The meaning of life is just to enjoy life, enjoy the things around you. It took a cartoon telling you a little story about a fish in water. to give you the meaning of life, to give you new perspectives. Gee, has nobody ever,
Well,
has have you never been in in a car collision, that you woke up in the hospital? Have you never been something tragic happened to you? Have you never lost a loved one? Something, anything like that, something tragic happened to you. They're like, oh my God, like, I can't waste another day, like I think most people have these things, but like a movie comes along, it's like, like, I don't know. I guess same thing with a lot of films that come out. But it's just, I don't know. It's just the latest thing. It was a good movie.
Well, yeah, I definitely think recency has a big. I was talking about this with someone about like Spider-Man.
Bias, yeah,
recency bias, where it's like I go to theater seeing Spider-Verse, and I'm like asking the guys checking me out if he's seen it. He's like, yeah, it's so good. I'm like, how's it compared to Spider-Man 2? He's like, oh, those crappy Raimi movies, and I'm like, I'm just in shock. Like, what? Yeah. But it makes sense that I can talk to like a comic book store owner, like I did recently, about Spider-Man. He's like, Holland is the best Spider-Man, but he has this whole wealth of Spider-Man knowledge to back up why he says that. And he talks about like the one thing that differs him from Raimi's Spider-Man is like it adds the banter element that Spider-Man's known for. I'm like, okay. But I talked to some kid at the theaters, like, yeah, Raimi, those are stupid. And it's like, you don't get the essence of those movies. Like, I'm not going to listen to your opinion because I think a lot of it recency bias.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of like you walk out of the latest Bruce Lee movie or I guess in this case Jet Li movie, and you feel like like you're ready to get in a fight with somebody, ready to rough somebody up because you just watched the movie, watching motherfuckers kung fu each other, and you're like, oh, I could do that shit. Yeah, I wish somebody would. You're sitting there in the line of McDonald's. Somebody going to come in here without a mask? I dare you to come in here without a mask on.
The one thing that I'll say to counter the recency bias that I think we don't think about is I've seen this in like philosophy classes. Like, so many philosophers have said the same thing, but it's how are they delivering? Right. Hume might say something. The next guy who builds on it, he delivers it in a way you can understand better, not just because of age, but someone before Hume might say the same thing, but it's like how it's conveyed is what like it finally clicks, and so
right. And that's something I believe in too, because something I've long thought for a while too is like to get like somebody motivated, to get them like, I mean, I worked with a lot of people. I was in a position where I had to like train people and things like that. I was kind of responsible for that kind of stuff. And one thing I always notice with people is like, with a lot of people, it only takes, like you're saying, the right combination of words to get it to click into somebody's head. You got to learn, how do they learn? How do they excel? How is it you need to get through to them? And it's different with every single person. And that's what it is. Like, what is it what do I have to say to make it click in your head?
Yeah. It's funny. I'm not creative. That's why I chuckled at when you're talking. He says, Mo, see that with the fist? And yeah, that's so great. I love like where, Corey thinks he gets him. He's like, and he's like, two hands. It's so simple, but I love slapstick show. That's why Jim Carrey has lasted so long with like his movies is just like the simple nature of the slapstick.
Right.
So when people are like, oh, I don't like fart jokes or something, I'm just like, I just dropped my head. I feel like Iron Man in Infinity, he stops. He's like,
yeah. Like my kids laugh at fart jokes. Come on.
Dude, when I edited this Game of Thrones video,
it's something everybody can relate to.
Yeah, when I edited this Game of Thrones video last year, and I had this track of farts, and I was trying to find like the right fart, and then I had to like slide it in the right way on the iMovie editor. And so for like an hour, me and my son just kept replaying the fart track, and we we're just dying. It's like this is what comedy is. Just it's simple. It hits you, What was the part of the joke besides the butt that farted to make that,
Look, if you can get a kid laughing, anybody will laugh at that shit. You know what I mean? Your kid's not gonna lie. They're not gonna be.
Sometimes I watch stuff where like the kid totally misses it, and I'm just like dying, and it's not even like something deep that's only adults. It's just like my perception. One time, when I was a kid, I was like probably 15. I'm in the back of the car with my parents, And we drive by Dollar General. For some reason, I just start laughing hysterically. And my sibling's like, "What's so funny?" I'm like, "Dollar General." And then he's like getting pissed off, like, "What's so funny about Dollar General?" And so it's making it funnier because he's so pissed and I'm just laughing for no reason. So I'm like 10 minutes just hysterically, and he's just getting pissed off and like, "What's so funny?"
Yeah, right.
Or like, they'll tell me something, and I'll be like, "Oh, stop your crying." And he's like, "You see tears in my eyes?" Now I'm really gonna laugh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, let me find it on Twitter really quick, and I'll show this. This was a funny thing that happened recently.
And you know, to touch back on that, like with the Spider-Man thing too, is the perfect Spider-Man is actually a blend of all three of the Spider-Man that we've had on the big screen. It's a little bit of Tobey Maguire, it's a little bit of Andrew Garfield, and a little bit of Tom Holland. It's a little bit of all of them.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sorry, my computer's really slow, so let me send this to you so that I can show it really quick. Come on.
This is precious airtime.
I know. I hate this. Well, if it wasn't for the update, I would have already sent it. I was gonna read. You
should have been ready. You should have been ready.
Well, I didn't know it was gonna update. Screw you.
Always check the updates. That's funny.
Well, I never know when my computer's gonna. It's old, and I need to take it to Geek Squad, which is the next step. So appreciate any super chats like Mexican Iron Man, because that's gonna go. Money I get either goes into Meth Gator coffer, or it goes into just updating how I can make videos and whatnot. So the well-being my computer is one of those for streams. I mainly do everything on my phone, but no, it's funny because Grace Randolph, EVS covered it, and then Ichi Baka did an article about it. So then I grabbed that screen of Grace Randolph deleting a post, and if I can just find it. It's funny. She deleted something that's about her Pedro Pascal drama on The Mandalorian, and so I have this meme of Baby Yoda.
Okay, so I was gonna say you better start your video off going so.
Did you see that edit of multiple videos where it's like so?
Oh my god!
So.
I sat through the whole thing too.
I'm just like, God damn it! Like, it's lucky she's pretty, because otherwise she'd have less than half her viewership. That's just the guy's honest truth.
Oh man, that's funny.
Okay.
Yeah, I never really watched her channel much until till some of the stuff started coming up. Like, I'll go check it out. Subscribe for a little while, and then
No, she's worth subscribing to. I just get irritated. Like, if you watch my Brightburn review, I love that movie, and she's a clear SJW with some of her politics she interjects. Like, Chris Pratt's a problem because it's Christianity, essentially, is what she's not saying but saying, and it's like, people can not toe the line with current politics and be entertainers, like,
Absolutely. What's funny is Kurt Russell had a while back made some comments about these actors and everything shouldn't be out there, basically espousing their beliefs as far as politics and everything. Yet he does it.
Yeah, that's why you don't see him much anymore.
And a lot of the things that I've seen him say is where he's talking just like liberty kind of things, simple freedoms, and like gun rights and stuff like that. And seeing some of that stuff is like, okay, well, I mean, you're kind of doing that, but hey, whatever, it's all good. But the thing is like, it's funny because even like I've seen some clips where he was on The View, they even approach him differently and talk to him differently than they probably would somebody else when talking about these same subjects. You know what I mean? Like, I guess because maybe he's welcome and accepted in their community.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely see that kind of bias or slant when it comes to talking about politics, where it's like, oh no, you're talking about politics, but then something you like, or it like Gina Carano, for instance, where it clearly is in favor of a Trump supporter like myself, where it's like, yeah, this mask crap's stupid, this lockdown crap's stupid, boop bop beep for pronouns, you know, to hit back at everyone trying to make her toe the line with pronouns, and she's like, nah, screw you.
Oh yeah,
I like that. I like that. And if it wasn't for the mass in public with this one view of everything, I would probably not support that with her. But it's like, okay, she's like this make herself found the exception to the rule with politics, because like everyone's got this one side in the public view of like entertainment, and then someone's like kind of counter, and she's currently successful and famous, not someone who's sort of a has-been. Not saying like James Wood or Kurt Russell or one of these are has-beens, but like they're not allowed in current Hollywood anymore. You know, they're blacklisted. Right. So to see someone right now, it's like, okay, this is great. This is great to see. So it's
once you're playing Santa, you're done with. Once you're playing Santa, you're done. Mel Gibson, done. Kurt Russell, done. Ernest, no, he never did it, but he's done anyway.
All right, yeah. So this is the meme. Okay, so she deleted this tweet where it's like final Pascal tweet. Another source just reached out to me. Turns out reason Pascal was asked to leave the set is far more serious than I originally heard. It is not the helmet issue. Since it's so serious, I didn't ask for the reason because I wanted to stay out of it. Done. And so I memed this, and I said, Disney said, delete the tweet, Grace Randolph. And I'm blocked. And yeah, I should have expected that. I should have expected that because she blocked Den of Nerds. She blocked Josh, of all people, and he's just in love with her.
Yeah. He sims for Grace for sure. I mean, that's funny. Yeah, and is this the part where we get into the people's panties getting wadded up for people blocking them on Twitter? Is this the segue into that section?
I mean, if you have something about it, sure. I mean, I don't. I'm just like, she bought. I got my alt to then screen cap and then make fun of her.
No, I'm fucking with you.
But yeah, no. What I was gonna say about Brightburn is I even included in my view where it's like, should crap on Rambo 5 because Mexicans in their portrayal, and it's like you realize, like what he's portraying is a specific criminal element that's a reason we need border security with Mexico, because it's like the drug and sex trafficking. You're all about women representation of minorities on this, but it's like this stance and this view is,
well, and the thing is, like, you could easily argue, oh, he could have done that with Canada too, because I mean, there's probably still issues there. Yeah, sure, but I mean, it's just kind of where the story was at and led to. It's not necessary because the issue they were tackling here is an issue that's worldwide. It applies to everybody.
Yeah, but with Mexico, it's like right on their doorstep. So that's kind of like, yeah, why not address it? It's pertinent.
Free flowing traffic. Just
like Rambo 4 with the Christian issue over in whatever country that was. He used a pertinent real world event to tie into making a Rambo story. And then you're vilifying this movie and crapping on it when like fans love it. It hits all the notes a Rambo movie needs to for the series. It's not out of character. Mm-hmm. But no, what was crazy about Grace is she insinuated with some of her replies when she said, I'm not reviewing this movie. And it's like, I wonder why it is, because it shows violence against women with a villainous character, a villainous Superman type archetype character. It's fair game. I think I did the math. It's like, I think he hurts on screen actual characters, like I think 7 to various degrees. He kills his mom.
And which one, Rambo?
No. Brightburn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Brightburn character kills his, I think, uncle, kills his dad, kills his mom, kills the girl he's infatuated with, mom, and brutalizes her body afterwards. And and there's some men, of course, and like a sheriff and whatnot, just destroys them. But because it's like fair game across both genders, she couldn't review it. It's problematic, and it's like, come on, this is some awful. Yeah, you should definitely see it. I think it's really good. Like Red Sun has been touted as like evil Superman. It's like, I don't know if you read Red Sun, but it's amazing. I actually roped that into the Ray theory at the time, where it's like, is she Shmi Skywalker? Are they going to like wrap the Skywalker saga where it's like a loop, which would have been really cool. I use Red Sun for example, but people mistake Red Sun for evil Superman when it's really like, no, he's Soviet Superman. He just alternate timeline. He crashes in Ukraine instead of America, and so he becomes a communist, and he's like an agent for that regime. Right. But he's still got like the Superman quality of like trying to do right, truth, justice, the communist way.
Right.
It's really good. I don't think
he's still true to the character that he actually is. It's just a totally different scenario.
Yeah, and what's really cool is that how it wraps up, where it's like this alternate timeline is a loop, where it's like he's actually like a long distant relative of Lex Luthor's lineage. Just like, that's really cool, and it just keeps in that loop, so it's a contained story. I don't know how I feel about a Russian.
Is this a story that people like?
No, it's
is the evil Superman one, this Red Sun one.
Oh no, yeah, Red Sun is it's like an Elseworld, just self-contained story, but I think Mark Millar wrote it.
This is something that people like, though? They like this one?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Because to me, it sounds like the exact same storyline that they did with Captain America, but hey, nobody liked that.
Yeah, I don't know. I listened to, I haven't read that, but I listened to probably an hour or so of Comics Explained rundown of that story, and I'm like, this sounds freaking awesome, Yeah,
I love it's like the story that got me back into reading comic books. Because I actually went through and I started, like, it was the whole Hydra Cap thing that got me. I was like, really? I was like, so I went through and I started reading that. So I started at the beginning of that series, which then that led me to other stuff that started before that. And I was like, okay, so and I picked a point. I was like, okay, I'll just start here and I'll move forward from there. And that's kind of what I did. And read a lot of the stuff up through the current timeline a couple of years ago, up to about 2018. Read a lot of that stuff, a lot of the tie-ins to everything that was going on at the time and everything.
Yeah, no, it's cool. That's one problem I think with comics as a model. Not even talking about like the industry and the monopoly of Diamond thus far for like 30, 40 years since they essentially took over distribution. And we're able to win the court case about monopoly because it's like, well, it's not publishing, it's just comics. So that kind of thin line that they won on, horrible precedent. But the like monthly, the weekly issues, whatever, that's, I think, the biggest hindrance to the comic industry is like, I think I had not an argument necessarily, but like a disagreement with Nerdet's Newsstand in the comments about Lone Star, the Mike Miller book. She's saying something like, well, I think she's doing issue 2, and it's like, well, if you didn't get issue 1, you can't really follow the story. And it's like, well, that's good. That puts a reliance on needing to buy the first issue, which is a good market, I think. It's like you don't buy Twilight book number 3 and like, oh, I don't know what happened in the first 2 books. I can't follow this. Read the series. And with comics, you got this like weekly format, and next month get this or whatever. It's regards to the quality, it's like drug use. It's like you just need the next hit. Got to read this title. I got this next number on this title, regardless of the quality. Right. And it's like, well, this run sucked, but then this writer come in with the same series, building on the number count and stuff. And it's just, this is stupid. I think comics really work with trade paperbacks with a contained story or an omnibus. I think if they worked more on that way and not reliance on like the every month hit.
I think it really does kind of depend, but I'm kind of there with you on that because I've noticed like even like with me, like kind of like not going to be. I've got a few series left. I'm gonna finish up wrapping certain story arcs, and then I'm not going to be having Marvel or DC on my pull list. I'm like, I'll probably buy the trades later, but it costs that much extra to buy the single issues, and I can just wait for the trade. And I go into my my LCS, they'll let me review a comic book. So I mean, that's not really an issue. I mean, and I can wait, for 3 months for it to show up on Marvel Unlimited and read it that way. But I'm there kind of with that as well. Like, I'm into the graphic novels and the trade paperbacks and stuff like that. That's cool too as well. But I think like that's what I like indie comics for. I'm willing to buy those first issues, the second, the series in single issues, because a lot of them I do feel engaged in the story, and they bring me in, they get me excited to read the next issue, where some of the other stuff doesn't. It's like, okay, like maybe it's this story arc that does it more so than like each issue. Because there's one I read recently called Arrow, a series that got canceled, a new character that was really good, but honestly, it would read better in a trade paperback than in those single issue format.
Yeah, because again, with like issues, you got this whole necessity. And I think it takes a talent to write this way, but you have this necessity of like every issue has some sort of cliffhanger to be continued, like a TV series. That's why I like movies better than TV shows. That's why I don't watch many TV shows.
Right, me too.
They got this reliance on it. That's why I give Game of Thrones a big pass. I can buy the story on top of it, but it's like, all right, you have this good show and this premise of how they make it, but at some point it's going to end. And so you got people that are writing to continue a story, but then they have to end it. And that's not like their niche. That's why you need a film writer to, I think, end a show.
Right.
With what's come before. And for some reason, Hollywood in large hasn't been able to do that.
Yeah, and I'm with you there too. That's why, like, for me, like, when it comes to shows, I'm okay with sitcoms, like the Friends, like the the Seinfelds, like all these little, because like you were saying earlier, like with the comedy thing, I'm okay with that in just like a little 30-minute thing. When it comes to like some other shows, I would rather just have a movie, something that's going to keep me engaged for that 90 minutes, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, whatever it may be, as long as it's not Wonder Woman 1984 for 2.5 hours. I could.
We'll talk about that.
See that. I want to see like a longer format thing, but as I can see, like with the Mandalorian, it's something like I like, and I love Star Wars, and it got me engaged in a way where like I'm okay with this 30 to 45 minute format with that. WandaVision is definitely going to have that for me as well. I can already feel it. Like they're going to have me engaged and ready to watch little half-hour, 45-minute shows for 6 weeks. I'm all about it there because I'm more passionate about that and I'm more engaged as well. But I'm not that way with a lot of shows. And even like the Netflix Marvel stuff, I just did not like it. But I think some of it is in the quality and possibly the fact that it actually ties into the MCU as well.
Yeah, no, at least it's part of the continuity, but I got no semblance of that for those shows. Like those are, especially the heroes that they're showing. I didn't watch Jessica Jones or Luke Cage or Iron Fist. I just don't like that actor. I think he's from Game of Thrones. He was fine in that, but like to actually have a show and be the front runner, I just don't like his fucking face.
Jessica Jones was actually really good. I liked Kristen Ritter. If there was anybody they're going to bring back from those series, she would be the one I'd pick.
Let me show this. All right, so I'm expecting this to make some rounds of crap on one videos on YouTube. I might do one myself, but I read this and it's really funny because I had no idea. All right, so it says Patty Jenkins praises Taika Waititi and calls Thor Ragnarok one of the best Marvel movies of all time, and I could agree. It's fresh. Has a cool perspective, and it stays true to the comics in large, like the essence of Thor, especially when you watch behind the scenes and it's like, yeah, we pulled this from this. The color is like Kirby era, blah blah blah. Okay,
wasn't she on originally supposed to direct Thor: The Dark World?
Yeah, I had no idea. Right, so who was attached to direct a Romeo and Juliet inspired Thor: The Dark World for Marvel before helming Wonder Woman, ultimately parted ways with the Thor sequel over creative differences. And I'm like, holy shit. It's funny because DC fans in large just like to crap on Marvel. They don't really talk about what's great about DC. They just Marvel. It's one size fits all. It's generic. It's quality. It's quantity over quality. Blah blah blah. But they don't really. Besides Snyder, don't really prop up anything about DC as a whole, which is telling about the quality of DC in large. And reading this, I had no idea, and it's like, holy shit. Wonder Woman was probably like the biggest bread and butter potential for DC at this point. And of course, 84 happened with complete creative control by Patty Jenkins. And it's funny because realizing this, it's like, wow, you just got Marvel's sloppy seconds. And then she gets full control and you get crap. And so it's like the only hope, it seems. And now I got James Gunn for The Suicide Squad. And it's like the best attempt besides Snyder that you get is James Wan doing a Marvel style movie with Aquaman. You get sloppy seconds from Marvel with Patty Jenkins, and James Gunn during his questionable firing hiatus from Marvel
when he got canceled.
Yeah. Which, okay, I'm not for canceling James Gunn, but I don't think he should work for Disney, given like their family portrayal, and yet this guy making these type of humorous jokes. With his like pedo and like the porn parody and all this, and it's like it doesn't really speak family, image for me. So I was fine with him getting canned from Disney. I don't want him canceled because he's a good movie maker and producer for stuff like that, or he helped produce that. But yeah, seeing that was like, I really think, especially if she gets Wonder Woman 3 before Star Wars, I think she's going to get canned from Star Wars. I think it's going to be another Disney Star Wars firing.
Could be.
Yeah. I haven't heard your take on Wonder Woman. Let's hear it.
No, I thought it was an okay movie. It was definitely too long. Definitely too long of a film. I didn't think it was bad. I mean, I later seen people talking about all these different things that are in the movies, just stuff. I'm like, really? Like, you took all that out of like just. It was an okay movie. I mean, I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't think it was great. It's just kind of middle of the road. I mean, the first one I think was better. Altogether, I watched it and it was decent. It was decent. Just not. This movie wasn't going to. I don't think this movie was going to make the kind of money they thought it was going to in theaters. I'll put it to you that way.
Oh yeah, people were like, "Oh, it's made $100 million bucks a box." I was like, Birds of Prey did that. So what are you saying?
Yeah, and again, I didn't think it was too bad. I mean, there wasn't too many. I don't know. Like I said, there's people talking about political messages in this, and I remember people saying like Pedro Pascal was supposed to be like a mockery of like Trump and some of this stuff. I'm like, I don't really see any of that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just kind of like I thought it was just what it is. It's an okay film. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. Kind of pays homage to the old school Wonder
Superman.
Woman show. It's kind of cheesy in a lot of senses, and I'm okay with that. It was entertaining, but some of the stuff was just like the cheetah stuff was a little bit. It was overdone. They dragged that storyline out a little too long. Some of that CG I didn't really like neither with cheetah, but it was just I don't know. It seemed like they tried to do too much with it, and I think that's kind of what suffered from it. I think that's what it kind of suffered from, was trying to do too much when it didn't really need to.
Yeah, it's funny because I watched the Regular Media review of this movie, and I love those guys. I love their humor. They talked about the Trump thing, and they actually put it in perspective for me of like, okay, I can see these elements are clearly trying to be like Trump-esque and have a social commentary about him and who he is and his whole history, businessman, all this, and just being self-serving. When they put it in perspective, I see those elements, but it's like Captain Marvel for me, where it's like they're trying to be a feminist film, but they just failed at their attempt of even. It's a cringe movie in that aspect because it's like you tried and failed at even trying to make me cringe at your political messaging because it's like I don't. It's so poorly delivered. I don't even see it. It's just a crap movie.
Right.
Yeah, no,
kind of like before Dark Phoenix hit theaters, where they tried to put that in the trailers. We're like, oh, it's got this feminist stuff in there. And you watch the movie, it's like
women,
it's really not in there. And like the clips they did use, they didn't work well in the movie anyway. They just kind of seemed weird. And like it was unclever editing. I guess you could put it that way.
Yeah, the whole running with ex-women scene as like, oh, it's another Captain Marvel. That was not fair to that movie. It was stupid to advertise that element, especially the culture we're in. But it was not there. The X-Men in the prequel series for the X-Men movies, it's been egalitarian in how they fight the villains and everything, their teamwork. That was kind of a point. But like that moment she was saying like, oh, it's the women doing all the work while you guys sit back. You know, it was circumstantial in Mystique's perspective of how things were going recently. Was not a messaging at all to me.
Right.
I actually like Dark Phoenix. I think I give it like a 7 out of 10 or 6.5. I thought it was good. Could have been better. I don't think you're ever going to, unless Feige runs it, I don't think and builds it through a long-term 5-10 movies. I don't think you're ever going to get a Dark Phoenix that serves the comic book fans of that series. But I thought they did well. You know, I think Alita and Captain Marvel really undercut that movie's potential. I think it was stupid to get the same writer who did X-Men 3 and everyone hated that to do this movie again, attempting the same storyline. But no, it was fine. Especially that train sequence with Magneto and Nightcrawler. People cried about Nightcrawler. Oh, he doesn't murder. It's like, well, it's circumstantial. He's got to if he's going to live and his friends are going to live. I don't think it portrays the character at all. And everyone did good in that movie. I think it's unfair the reception that movie got.
Yeah, I think the train sequence. Are you talking about that final battle at the end?
Yeah, I mean the movie's too short the way they build it up. But
I almost fell out of my seat laughing at the theater by the time we were at that point.
Really? Why is that?
Oh yeah, I was dying laughing. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like the full fighting with his dreads and like, oh man, it was just too much. It was just too much. Dark Phoenix was, and I even did it the second time too. Like I actually kind of felt bad when I was at the theater sitting there watching. I'm like, oh god, like this is terrible. Like I literally almost fell out of my seat laughing. Just at some of the stuff, like it was a disaster. It was a disaster. They could have just edited out Jessica Chastain.
Yeah, no. Well, I think that whole element was also because of Captain Marvel, because they were doing the Kree, and that was what I think they're supposed to be doing in X-Men, but it's like, oh, Disney has it now, or they're going to, so no, let's do some not Kree element. And that element was poorly portrayed, and she did not fit the role they're trying to do for her. It's so unfortunate for Chastain because she was supposed to be Black Widow, but she had scheduling issues, and it's like, what could her credentials and stardom be if she was Black Widow instead of Scarlett Johansson? They're both hot in their own ways. I think Johansson probably
and better. Believe me, I love Jessica Chastain too. I think I honestly like. I've been a fan of Scarlett Johansson for a long time, and she is a freaking great actress. But by all rights, I think Jessica Chastain might just be a little bit better. And I haven't even seen her in as much, but she's good, man. She's really good.
Have you seen Marriage Story on Netflix?
No, I still haven't seen that one yet.
Dude, that movie will tear you up. It's phenomenal. The only thing I hated in that movie, besides like the female character of Scarlett Johansson, just because it's like, what a bitch. You know, she's causing all this chaos for their lives. And it really shows like how men get shafted in the family court. Was a fucking lesbian haircut she had. It was just so not Scarlett, you know. I get she's not being Black Widow or any of her other stuff, but it just stuck out like a sore thumb. Such a beautiful woman and such an awful, like, dykey 90s.
She had the Karen?
Not a Karen. It was just.
Oh, okay. Not the Karen.
It's like a dude cut almost. It was like a long-haired dude's haircut.
Like what? And what's that power haircut? Are the women still doing that power haircut now, where they got the little bangs thing and it's all cut over here and they got a little bit of sticking out, like, you know, like little spiky kind of. Are they still doing that? The
power like long in the front and the short in the back.
Yeah, is that still the?
I don't know. I haven't seen that since I was thinking about that haircut recently. There's this girl like
a couple years ago. That was the power haircut.
Yeah, that was the like when you see the manager cut, the Karen cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess women still do that, but it's not so prominent.
Oh, okay, it's something else now.
Yeah, I don't really know what the Karen, if there is a Karen cut specifically anymore. Definitely a typecast we can meme, but it's not prevalent. But no, it's funny. My favorite Scarlett Johansson, as far as like sex appeal, everyone will think of Black Widow, but her sexiest role is her not even on screen. To me, it's her voice work on the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix.
I've never, that's one of those ones I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it. I need to
Gotta
watch it.
see
Though.
it.
I've always wanted to see it.
Yeah, that movie is. You talk like social dilemma and the problem of like social media and our internet awareness hindering our personal awareness and everything, our interpersonal reactions and everything, Twitter and all that. I think that movie really speaks to an element we haven't really addressed. I guess discussion about OnlyFans and Corona accentuating this is kind of becoming unconscious, but I think Her is the only movie that taps on that aspect of the social hindrance of the internet on our lives. Wall-E is another good one of like a where are we going type of movie. Idiocracy is like a horribly exaggerated comedic take about where we're going that I think speaks a lot to us. But yeah, Her is something that's under the radar for a lot of people. I think everyone should watch of like, loneliness, Corona accentuating that, OnlyFans becoming such a big thing. I think it will only become a bigger cult film because of that.
Right. Probably so. Yeah, I need to watch that one again. It's one of those ones I wanted to watch, and plus, I love like sci-fi flicks like that too. They're kind of psychological, like Ex Machina. Another one of those ones that's like just absolutely great films.
Dude, if you
like stuff like that, and that's why I forgot to push back with you about the Alita thing. And I know a lot of people don't like it, but like for me, I'm pretty simple, and I think I just like cyberpunk altogether. As long as you make it good, I can enjoy it. And because I mean, Alita's filled with a lot of those tropes and all that kinds of stuff. So a lot of people are going to say, yeah, it's not super original and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, I get it's because it's cyberpunk. It's kind of full of a lot of tropes. I mean, look at the Matrix. That's one giant trope. But also everything that it did, how much it influenced when it came out, and all those kinds of things as well. So I think a lot of times it's in the way it's done. So
it's funny. I want to say it was Donovan Sharp, his Red Pill channel, or one of those. They were talking about the Matrix, and I was like, I haven't watched this in a while. I own it. Let me rewatch it. And it's like, that's so good. The simple concept they're delivering, but it's funny because they were talking about it because it's like the guys who originated this pop idea. I would say like the next 1984 type of awareness of like government and control of media and all this. They're both trannies now.
Right.
It's like, Jesus Christ.
That's a bigoted term, but okay.
It's funny they say bigoted, but you go on like, websites, that's like one of the big keywords is like tranny. But then like, you see the trannies that help market this niche, and they're like, don't call me a fucking tranny. And it's like, you're part of, it's like women crying about the makeup industry. It's like, you're the reason it's a market. You're the, like, what are you talking about?
Oh man. Yeah, I know. We all create our own devils, right? We all create our own devils. We all set the stage against ourselves or for ourselves, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Let me see. Oh, this is something I want to case. Let me pull it up. Go to another tab. So I don't think I've showed this. I think I showed it once, but especially you're a comic fan and stuff, and I'm working on this project. I actually got Methkid colored, the final poster colored, and I got like the final thing with the logo for it. The logo doesn't quite work with this piece and the coloring, but it's the logo I'm running with. So that's one of the hits is when you got something just set. Let me find it. got to scroll up for a minute, but
Was this the fault of the update too?
no, this wasn't the fault of it. This was some I should have had prepped. I don't have it saved on my computer yet, so yeah, I think like getting back to streaming the computer is kind of in the back of my mind, like a forgotten thing.
I hear you.
Sorry, I was laughing because the chat it's in is a lot of funny crap.
The what?
The chat that I have this saved in is got a
Oh,
lot of funny crap in it. It's a war campaign chat, so I can't just show the chat.
sure you can. Sure you can.
No. Don't show DMs. It's our ethics.
I mean, people forget to close all their porn windows before they go live, and they share those.
I don't know about that myself. What are you speaking in reference to?
No, I've seen it. I've seen it a couple times. People go live and they have their screen share on there. It's like I seen one person go live and it was actually their thumbnail that they had when they went on there. I seen the little site they were on, like, make sure them windows closed before you go live, bro. Like I got on, I seen your thumbnail. I'm like, Totally don't have a screenshot of it to laugh.
All right, so this is Meth Gator poster, the final one by Isanetto Souza. It's colored by Oliver Lee Aker. And this is the final. I got the logo put on it.
Nice.
Yeah, this is one I'm...
How big are the posters going to be?
The posters are going to be 11 by 17. I'm going to work on getting those printed from Mixam this week. So yeah, hoping to fulfill the backers way before the April deadline I set.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll probably do another campaign for this. Hopefully, network a bit better beforehand to make a tour pushing this and talking about what the comic will be. I'm hoping if I can sustain the amount of money I'm projecting each week from my work, overtime, and everything, and yeah, I'm hoping to be able to fund at least the art, the pencils and or inks this year, to then release the campaign for the book. Maybe I'll do it sooner, depending on money and stimuluses and all that.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I'm really, really proud of this piece. Let me show my. Oh crap! Did I even screen share that to you, like to the audience?
Yeah. It was shown.
Okay, cool. Hey, Max and Iran, thank you for popping in and stuff.
Later.
Peace out. Yeah, what is there any, let me see my I already covered that. I got my notes, what I was planning on talking about with you. Pretty much got everything covered. Have you seen the trailer for Denzel's new movie coming on HBO?
No, I haven't.
Dude, it's called The Little Things, and I saw some news about this or something. Might have just been on HBO Max, like Things to Come, and I'm like, oh, I'll have to check this out. This trailer. It's Denzel and Mr. Robot, Remy Malek. Okay. It's like a crime thriller drama. It's got Jared Leto in it too, which I'm not a fan of, despite him being some good stuff. But yeah, it looks really good. Like it kind of portrays like, is Denzel like a bad guy or something? But like he's working for the cops. I don't know if he's a cop directly, but yeah, he's working with the cops, and he's apparently really good at. I thought it was going to be a sequel to
American Gangster.
not American Gangster. What's that fucking series? He's done 2 of them. Equalizer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like Equalizer until it gets to where it's like this dude's like 60, or he's like getting everyone's ass, and he's beat up, but he's still like walking away pretty much unblemished. Like, fuck, come on. I know Denzel's fit. Black guys age really well.
I haven't seen the second one. Only the first one. I thought the first one was pretty good.
But no, it was good. It was like a Black John Wick. It worked until at end where it's like, okay, this isn't believable. Like John Wick gets his ass kicked, and it shows through the movie. Like he's hindered. He's got injuries. He needs to like lay low. He needs to get healed, despite
you know, a great revenge flick, and I rarely ever hear people talk about it too. but it's a movie, a Kevin Bacon movie called Death Sentence.
Yes. Oh my god. I'll probably review it because I was searching through
That
HBO Max.
movie is so freaking great because like it starts off like realistic, kind of, you know, like realistic, like dude, like I get this, like this dude going out there, like, you know, he's going out there trying to get revenge for his son. And he's getting his ass kicked, all these kinds of things. And then it gets like not even towards the end, maybe was it about halfway through or so? Like it just went bonkers, off the wall shit. I'm like, yes. I'm like, yes, this is it. I love that movie.
Yeah, I'll have to rewatch it. I haven't seen it in a while, but I would say Death Sentence kind of still contains itself somewhat compared to Equalizer. Yeah. And so, you know, some people might come in and be like, wait, you didn't like this for this element at the end, but you're finding Death Sentence. And it's like, okay, I need to rewatch it. But from what I remember, it was more contained and it felt like, okay, this is a movie, so it's exaggerated, but it feels plausible still compared to Equalizer. It's like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was definitely glad it wasn't equal. Well, actually, I saw the trailer for Little Things. At first, I was like, wait, the way it opens, like, wait, is this supposed to be? So you hear Denzel's voice before you see him. So I was like, wait, is this the new Saw movie? Because I know Sam Jackson and Chris Rock are doing a Saw universe movie, which I don't think it's been released yet.
Huh. Yeah.
Are you a fan of Saw?
Not really. Not a big fan. Like, it was okay. I think I've seen the first like 2 maybe, but yeah.
Okay. 2 is it's crazy because like I'm not a Hostel fan necessarily, but I like Saw, I guess in its if I'm looking at gore porn and exclusively through the Saw view, I love it. But just in general, I'm not a fan of gore porn. But yeah, Saw just I guess there's an element I take away that people don't normally. Jigsaw, especially through the entirety of the series, his character is very much like Batman in a way. And I mean that with the Messiah complex he has that like gives him his drive. You know, people want to see it for the gore element. That's the whole sell. But like the character of Jigsaw, he had this event that happens, you know, with the cancer, and he tries to kill himself and he survives. And he's trying to give that enlightened view he felt living a second chance at life to the world by finding, you know, bad people moralistically in his view and giving that new perspective. And it's kind of like Batman in a way, like thinks he's the moral arbiter for the world to enlighten people, and it's very flawed. And you see that in Dark Knight Rises, where it's like the hubris of Batman comes to bite him in the ass.
Right.
So that's the element I take away from Saw beyond the gore entertainment of it and the creativity of the gore.
Right.
Yeah, no,
well, and that, you know, really that comes down to something that you were kind of talking about earlier too. We kind of talked about where, you know, like what is it you have to say to somebody to get them to make it click in their head? It's kind of the same thing. Getting somebody to understand, you know, a perspective or anything like that.
Yeah. So I was looking at my notes like, wait, was there something else? No, there wasn't. Yeah. Now you've been not hard, but you've been like hard pressed covering Vault comics. Is this like, are you trying to build a rapport with Vault? Maybe get a sponsorship or like an edge with them, or is it just like a new niche that you think no one's
probably already had that? I'd say I probably already got that with them, but it's just a lot of their books they've got out. I like a lot of the titles they put out. Now they've got a few titles that I've read. I'm like, no. And generally what I do with those is I don't talk about them. It's the easiest thing to do. And it genuinely comes down to, for some of those things, that if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it at all. Because there are a couple of titles that I've read there that I'm like, I legitimately don't have anything nice to say at all. A lot of things I can read and I can look at them and be like, I enjoy these things about them. Somebody else might like this about it. I'm not really into it, but here you go. A couple of them I can't. A couple of them I can't. But ultimately, it's just a few of the indies that I really do like. Vault Comics has come out and done a really good job with the titles that I've read and I enjoy. So I like to push those. And then AWA Upshot is another one as well. I really like the titles that they've been putting out. A lot of books they've been putting out. And then even like another one, the Absolute Comics Group, who is these guys kind of started their own little thing, and they're getting some distribution through Diamond, but they do a lot of Kickstarter campaigns and things like that as well. And I like the stories that they've been putting out also. I think more so anything, it's just getting into the indies and wanting to let a lot of these other indie publishers shine, because I think a lot of the work they're doing is good. And for me, the indie comics is more that avenue for, I think it's just more open for people to see different stories more so than through Marvel and DC. We have expectations with things like that. So they're able to do something different because they don't have to live within the confines of like, it's got to be a Spider-Man story. It's got to be Spider-Man, with fans and new and old. And I think that's something that's like I say, they do a lot of that stuff over there. Just do things a little bit differently. And a lot of these publishers have their own little kind of style as well. Because like Aftershock is another one that I really like. A lot of the titles they've been doing as well.
Yeah, I think that's something I like about the potential of indies versus Marvel. Even if Marvel does something new, they got to like, unless they want to do something max or something and distinguish this is for a harder audience or something, they're not going to go that route. Right. They got to stay subservient to like the established fandom and not push the edge too much. And I don't like that. That's one problem I see in the movie industry. I think it's going to occur itself, especially with streaming. And you see something like Wonder Woman, or it's like a lot of safe punches and stuff. That's why Netflix and HBO Max original titles are going to do really well, is they're countering what I saw from Infinity War. I saw the movie 4 times. It deserved the money it got. Great comic adaptation, but especially with the blockbuster incentives and stuff with the theater industry and all that, it's to the hindrance. And with comics, it's like, okay, that's one thing I appreciate, the potential of indies and less established books and everything, is like they can push the boundary and stuff and like see where it goes, instead of saying hindered by the boundaries of long-term fans and long-term established continuity.
Right.
That's why I love Mirka Andolfo. She's got like this kind of sexual element and appeal with her art and her writing and stuff. It's not gonna like blow you away, at least thus far, but it's like, okay, it's got like a life. It's got, something like, you're not gonna see this from DC or Marvel. Another thing with DC is like DC's pigeonholed themselves the last, let's say, decade with just Batman. I love Batman, but it's like, it's the only element that like draws me, and most of their stuff around Batman I don't care about. I don't care about Nightwing. I don't care about new Robin from Talia al Ghul. I read the first issue of Punchline just because of Mirka Andolfo mainly doing the art, but I'm like, this is not good.
It's kind of like Marvel with Spider-Man. They got every month they've got to have 10 different Spider-Man titles on the shelf, because that's what we really need, right? And so they run with it. They run with it, and it's like, it's not necessarily a good thing, even though it is kind of their cash cow.
Yeah, no, that's the problem, is like they milk these characters so much, and like, where you go, like, you can stop making Spider-Man for a while until you have a good story, instead of like, all right, we got this thing, we got to keep it running. That's the other thing with comics in large. I'd say what I've read of Spawn, old and new, they've been able to keep it fresh and going, but there's still that need of like, we need the next month's issue, and it's like, you don't got to keep things going. Like, take a break. Devote yourself to something else until you like feel like a real hook. And
that's kind of where graphic novels and trades come in at, is at least have a 5-issue or 10-issue story arc planned and ready to go, and then put it out in single issues, or just do the full thing. I think that's definitely something that should be looked at too, because some of the books probably just aren't worth putting out monthly.
Yeah, no, like that's the thing for me, is like, especially in my money constraints, I can only spend so much at the comic store. I do want to support LCSs, despite being Comicsgate and being very much aware it's like, we don't need the LCS, but like, I think it's a good catch-all for different forms of.
It's still the gateway.
It's still a better gateway.
I was watching, the one of the streams with EVS, and that's one of the things he was saying. He's like, I don't want Marvel and DC to fail, because that's less eyes on comic books, which is my business. So I mean, I need people still seeing that, being interested in that, for them to find me. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm hoping with at least a couple stores to actually put out some posters for like a deal with the store to sell my posters and get more awareness. So I actually talked to a few people and it mentioned like, yeah, I'm doing this thing and I've done these posters. Like, oh, I'll check out your channel and stuff. And so yeah, it's a better gateway for just like random interactions of like, YouTube is a facet I don't think the comic industry really embraced or noticed until too late. Now you got people like Donnie Cates trying to like make a market, and it's like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
You're a company man. So like, what's held back?
Like, I know Donnie Cates isn't a complete. I mean, I know he's like a nerd, but why does he kind of feel like a poser? You know what I mean?
I would say part of that's like the Satanism aspect, where it's like, are you just doing this to be edgy? Given.
Yeah, he just seems like kind of like a poser to me. But that's not to say that he's not a nerd and he don't care or anything. Obviously, he's a pretty decent writer and gets a big following and all that stuff. But like, he kind of seems a little bit like a poser to me.
Yeah, no, I like what I've read of Donnie Cates, just whatever his politics are and stuff. I really personally seen him like attack fans or anything, and that's a weird thing where I'm at, where it's like these pros will say something against a segment of fandom or potential or whatever, or hit someone, and it's like, I don't like that, and it needs to be stopped. It needs to be addressed. But at the same time, like if they do good stuff, like James Gunn's full on Trump derangement, but he's done great movie work. So it's like, I'm not going to not pay to see. So that's like where you get in these like fine lines of like, all right, I got this stance or I feel this way, but then he makes this good product. It's not just consumerism, like the meme.
Right.
I like to talk about all of us. We're all kind of at the end, mindless consumers, we need to mix it.
Well,
but
here's the thing, is because a lot of these people, this like even with the name calling stuff, it's nothing that's that heinous, right? Like they're just name calling. You can deal with somebody calling you an asshole, but then take a look at somebody like Kevin Spacey. Like, dude's a great actor. Fucking love a lot of his old movies, but there's no way he would make a new movie and I could in good conscience ever go fucking watch it, because dude's a turd. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, the Spacey thing is weird for me. It's controversial, but his whole like underage boys, I think that's like a misnomer for sure, because there's that whole hypocrisy of like women versus male sex offender like teachers, with underage. Right. First of all, like I view the world scientifically, and like our abstract rules for society and like 18 makes you an adult does not fit biology. We're primates, right. And our bodies clearly say we should be having sex at like, I don't know, let's say 15. And you got laws that say like age of consent.
That used to be not uncommon.
Yeah, it's the last 100 years we've like redefined what a pedophile is or something. And so I look to that view, especially boys versus girls. Like girls mature faster because they burn out faster with reproductivity. But like there's like, despite them maturing faster, and you can say mentally as well, women are easy to manipulate versus like a guy. It's like, yeah, you get where I'm going. It's like someone sleeping with a 14-year-old, 15-year-old boy versus a girl. Girl doesn't realize the full range aspect of like, oh, if I get pregnant, when she's young like that. But she was like a power figure versus a boy. It's like, that's our drive, the hormones and everything. So I think the law metes out justice unfairly, given the like rigid standards of like, this is the law, but there's that reality with like the punishment. It's like, oh, okay, it's a woman with a girl, or sorry, it's a woman with a teenage boy versus, so it's like, it's hypocritical, but then it's not with biology.
Well, I think regardless of the situation, whether it's a man or woman, boy or girl, is the fact that the adult should know better.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Know better.
I definitely see that, but then I'm kind of like, is it really manipulating a teenage boy that's like a year or two away from being legally allowed to do this? Or it's like, so that's why I'm like, yeah, I think Kevin Spacey's cross the line or something, especially with like his power as a entertainer. But then it's like the agency of the adolescent male. You know, it's like
Right.
what he would do with like another same age peer. You know, so
Right.
that's why
Well,
I'm
and
like
but
I'm
I
kind of
think that
fuzzy on that.
Yeah, as I say, and that's kind of some of the difference too. Is like if that kid had done, if it had been somebody like his same age, I mean, that's a little bit different. But like Kevin Spacey was an adult, and this was, you know, by all means, somebody who was probably half his age at the time. So I think that's kind of some of the bigger difference there with some of that stuff, and a lot of it. I mean, I understand what you're saying though too, because like and that's something I've thought about before too, because like, you know, 100 years ago, like, you know, my grandma's not even 100 years old, but she was 15 years old when she got pregnant with my dad. You know, she had my dad at 16. You know, less than 100 years ago, this was not uncommon. But society was different then too. You had people at those ages who had farms, who had land, and who did these kinds of things, who had responsibilities. It's the way in which society has changed over the years that has really changed a lot of these things, for sure. I mean, for sure, because that kind of comes back to what you're saying about, you know, just like humans in general, how, you know, we're cavemen essentially. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'd say medicine has really impacted society and like age bracketing, because like the same people like pedophile will go to church and revere Jesus being born to a 15-year-old girl married to like a 40-plus-year-old man, and it's like, do you not see like you're buying into the system that's abstract, and you know, it's like it all boils down to biology versus like the supposed story of Muhammad with like, I think a married 6-year-old girl is the mythology that's argued about him, and consummated at like 9. It's like, okay, that's clearly different than like a 15-year-old girl that's like biology says she's ready.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I think a lot of it comes down to maybe how would you say one's own, maybe mental
Societal
maturity,
norms and
mental maturity or whatnot, being aware of their environments, because we all know plenty of people probably throughout our lives are like, oh, like, man, like this person's really they're kind of ahead of everyone else. They're really responsible, like that, like they get it, you know. Where there's other people who just aren't as mature, and it's like, you know, it just takes longer for certain people, and people are at different I mean, just different levels, I guess, when it comes to that kinds of stuff. And I think that kind of plays into some of that as well. And like I said, I think a lot of this has come about nowadays because really largely with the way society has changed, especially with social media and stuff, we've kind of crippled our children's growth as well, and kind of held back a lot of that stuff too, just to people, you know, being more aware of things going on in society, like, oh, we don't want to expose them to this or that and those kinds of things. And a lot of that's changed over the past 20, 30 years.
Yeah, helicopter parenting. You know, like you keep your kids in more. You don't let them, like, you know, before even 20, 30 years ago, it's like, yeah, I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to go to the arcade. I'm going to go to the comic store or whatever. And it's like, all right, here's $20, go walk or get a ride. And now it's like, oh no, I'll take you. I'm with you. You know, where are you?
Yeah, and that's kind of brings me back to like these memes. I always see these memes of like the kid riding on his little, you know, like the little old school 3-wheelers, you know, you roll down the street and having fun, like, oh, back in my day, we didn't wear helmets when we was kids, and we stayed out, you know, until the street lights came on, and all all of these kinds of things. And it's like, well, yeah, sure, you used to do that, but you also didn't used to have some asshole driving down the street at 50 miles an hour with his fucking face buried in his phone, not paying attention to you riding your bike out on the street.
Yeah,
so there's a little bit of change there in society, and like the technology that has come around. So there's like everything just kind of the way it's changed is kind of what I think makes the difference when it comes to the things like that we're talking about here, like the overall look at it, I guess.
Yeah, no, like for me, like I like to view the world biologically, and that's why I look at a lot of things as like abstract, you know, rules. It's like, this doesn't really matter to nature, you know. That's why I love like the red pill, like, especially Rollo Tomasi talks about like women freezing their eggs and stuff, where it's like we've had this whole system say like, oh, have your fun, and we keep prolonging the fun era that women can have, but then they try to catch up out of nowhere and get with the stable beta. It's faithful, and the freezing the eggs and all this stuff. And it's like, you can't change nature. Like maybe a million years from now we'll evolve where it's like, yeah, women can be in their sex prime when they're 50, but it's like, that's not reality. It's like 22 because you burn out at like 35 biologically. You shouldn't be having kids after then unless you've already had them.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think medicine's been a big part of that too, because like I always argue about Social Security with people. It's like Social Security needs to go away. It was like a stopgap measure, or it needs to adapt to life expectancy, because people back then died by the time they were 60. So not many people were getting it. Now that's like normal to live to your 80, but you can't be living off the government for 20 years. With the same, so we're stuck in our ways to a bit, haven't adapted to reality.
Right. Yeah, like I said, some things have progressed, some things have regressed, I guess you could say. Or maybe progressions in certain areas make you regress in other certain areas. And I think that's that's something coming back to like the X-Men thing we were talking about at the beginning, where if you go through like this Hickman era stuff, but it's the same thing with what we're seeing in society anyway, is the more technology advances, the further back humans go in who they are, their thought processes and things like that, because of technology. And if you go through like the Hickman X-Men stuff, that's really what the ultimate enemy that everybody's fighting in this storyline is, technology and the use of AI and things like that. But it all comes down to biotechnology and the things that that people are coming up with, because basically it's almost like WALL-E, where you're becoming less lazier because you don't have to think about this, you don't have to do that, you don't have to do all of these different things. You're essentially stunting your own growth through technology.
Yeah, I think that's why doomsday type of stories are so compelling, especially with technologies. Like you look at like the 50s, people could still do a lot of stuff naturally on their own. It's like, okay, there's still reliance on like the farmers who put things in the store, whatever. But there's things that people can just do, like, okay, I'm out of this, so I gotta do this thing. Now it's like we've evolved. It's like, all right, let me look at a YouTube tutorial. And it's like, well, what if the internet went down? How are you going to talk to your friends? No one's generally sharing phone numbers anymore on social media with each other, that like they've made a bond.
So I can just go buy it. I don't have to make it.
Yeah. And it's like, I think about like, that's why something like Walking Dead resonates so well. It's like the what if, like it's compelling, because at the end all be all, it's like, even if there's like a prepper, the prepper doesn't know anything about medicine. What if his wife gets pregnant? He's got to deliver the kid. You don't know what the hell you're doing. That's why Quiet Place is so cool. It's like, man, just think if you had to like live this existence. How
far would you be able to survive and live off what you know?
Yeah, like for me, it's like the Corona thing maybe, where like, okay, I need to make like a kind of a doomsday, start storing some food, like canned goods. So it's like I have like a little shelf of like, few panels or whatever you call them, levels of like, all right, here's some food, but it's definitely not enough to like really survive beyond like a week,
But then the thing with then you got to start thinking about is, why are you creating your own doomsday scenario? It's okay to just live it as it happens. I mean, sure, it sucks. You go to the store and you all of a sudden can't find toilet paper because apparently people stopped manufacturing that. But, you get along without having stockpiles of it.
That's dude, the toilet paper thing, that's going to be so embarrassing in 20 years when people look back and it's like the dad is like, yeah, I was one of those people that got in a fight over toilet paper. It's... Before it was, we're worried about like the Red Scare and like nuclear holocaust from Russia or Cuba. Now it's like toilet paper is devastating to our society. And it shows you how well off we are when it's like, this is a scare, is toilet paper.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about what animals are probably thinking. Like, what are you doing wiping your ass with that anyway, man? I just dragged my butt on the ground.
Yeah. Oh, dude, what's crazy is, I don't know if I say it in an email or not, but I was in when I was in college, I was in an entomology class online, which is bugs. And it's kind of interesting, some stuff you learn, although it's just, something to like get some credit to fill up, the sheet. But
Right.
when I had to get
in boxes.
Yeah, when I had to get another class, I looked through entomology again since I already had like the first class, and the next one of them was like hope and belief or something. It's very much not a bug class. It was just like a science, like abstract thought class, and it was cool because it was like all about it was very philosophical, and it talked about like how did we develop like societies and stuff from like our animal selves, which animals have society, especially primates, even like orangutans, which are very solitary. And like, how do we go from this to like being upright to then like religion and law and stuff? And it's very interesting. And it kind of hinted at like coincidence and stuff. And it's like, give me perspective from my atheist perspective about like, well, like, animals think a lot more than we realize. Like there's a consciousness of mind. Like when a twig snaps in the forest, a squirrel stops because they're thinking, is that danger? When it could just be a tree fell or something. But they have like that thought process, which is way more than we give animals credit for. And so you think about like humans and like how that envelops, where it's like someone knocks the door. It's like, is it the cops? Is it the thought police or something? Like we always have these negative precursors in our mind. And it's very interesting when you start applying that to like all these ways we think and stuff and how we've developed as a species. I just love getting on those tangents and exploring that with my own personal kind of armchair science exploration on YouTube and stuff. I highly suggest, if you're interested in this vein of thought, look up Dr. Robert Sapolsky. He's I think a neurologist, but he's done a lot of studies with baboons. And one of these talks he did was talking about how novel humans are as animals. Like he talks about like how we have all these functions that are animal rooted, but we've taken in such a curious way. And one of those was like blood pressure. You can measure the blood pressure of like a zebra being chased by a lion and the turmoil on the body in that moment. And he's like, you can find the same response in a human sitting down, not under any danger, playing chess for a championship. And it's like, holy shit, Or he talks about like how hamsters will kind of have like that across the board ovulation cycle,
Right.
And how women will do this in like fraternity or what do you call the women? Sororities. There you go. Mm-hmm. And so, or just women in general, like you get them clustered together for a while, roommates or something, like the alpha will set the trend. And it's like, holy shit, Yeah. I don't know. It's really mind-provoking things. And one of the things he talked about that like I kind of extrapolate with the red pill is his baboon study is like, he was saying they studied some baboons as troop. And of course the males eat first when they like forage garbage or just eating in general. And this one area of garbage they ate was full of like tuberculosis somehow, which I didn't know could be like in food, but they got tuberculosis and it killed out the alpha males especially. And so the betas rose up and the feeling across the troop was like a lot more calm, a lot less tense because they didn't have this like mean male stuff trying to keep his harem and keep opponents away from taking his harem. And the betas, because how they interact is they're a lot more feminine. They're the ones like helping the women pick the bugs and hugging and raising the kids and stuff. And I guess his kind of view of this long term would be like, oh, this is how like they'll take over and it'll make a better society. It's like, you can't breed out the alpha, dude. That beta is going to breed, and then the next cycle is there's an alpha is going to pop up. It's just nature. It's always going to happen. Well, and I see that with humanity.
Part of that is because the betas will still always need the alpha as an example. The alpha still always, at some point, it's still always got to be there for things to get bad enough for everybody to be like, oh my God, this is so terrible. And then when they're finally gone, everybody like, oh yes, like this is better. You still need that example because if everybody's good, then there is no bad, right? There's no none of that example to be like, for instance, you know, hey, a lot of people. A lot of people laugh at the Make America Great Again, you know, like, oh, how you make America great again? Well, he got you to the voting booth, didn't he?
You just pause,
that's just it, because like all the like at some point you didn't care. You know, Trump got voted into office and you didn't care because you didn't show up to the poll. And we're not getting into the whole polling thing, but you know, like you didn't go vote, and now obviously you are engaged, and he got you to go out and do it. And isn't that ultimately what you want? Is people to? And that's all I heard about this year. Getting close to it was go out and vote. Make sure you go out and vote.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. Rhodes Tomasi talked about this with like Hillary being like this expression of like ultimate hypergamy and like, you know, the feminine and whatnot. And then Trump is, you know, you can deride him for like his locker room recorded thing about grabbing by the kitty and all that. But it resonated with people because he just says what he feels. And that's how he's carrying himself publicly with his politics and stuff. It's like, I'm not going to be nice and fit this political correct crap. I'm going to be like, yeah, Mexico's a problem. China's a problem. Let's go right at it. Let's not, you know, pussy step around it or something. We're going to address this. And, you know, it gets this racist spin on it. It's like, no, it's clearly a problem for us. Like 60% of China's exports come to America. And that's why we've never went to war with them, because
right.
for their economy. So that's like the business ultimate check to.
Yeah.
You all right?
Yeah. No. Go ahead.
No, you're like, your camera's still.
It cut out. It cut out for a second.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, no, it's funny. Going back to the X-Men. Oh, fuck, there was something I was going to say about that. What did you think about everyone's uproar about bisexual Wolverine?
Well, see, it's funny. I was actually going to do a video talking about this. Well, I mean, where have we seen that? It hasn't been. We haven't actually seen that, and it hasn't actually been proved. None of it's out there. I mean, there's some questionable interactions as far as like whether, I guess, where your humor might lie with some of this stuff, but it hasn't really been actually put out there like that. Yeah, and that's the thing, is because like I seen somebody do a video talking about kind of the Wolverine thing and everything with him and Scotty Summers. I'm like, they didn't really do that though, and you know, and the person like in this one of these videos I was watching, you know, they're kind of asking like, oh, what do you think about this? I'm like, well, I can't really answer that, because the real answer to that is you got to read the book. You got to read the book, but the thing is, it's not as simple as you got to read one specific book. The real thing is you got to go back. You got to start at the beginning of what happened with Hickman's X-Men, what he set up, and you got to get through everything that's going on now. But you've got to understand everything that's happened between here and there as well. Because a lot of people have made the same thing where they're talking about, oh, the X-Men aren't themselves. They're acting like a whole bunch of weirdos and all this stuff. And absolutely right, they are. They are. And you got to understand what's going on in the story to get that. I mean, it's in the story. I mean, they talk about it plenty. It's Krakoa. It's Krakoa that is kind of controlling them. They make mention of this in the book. It's all of these kinds of things. So it's not even really them completely in their own minds, in their own bodies, in their own state. Through the resurrection process, they've talked about how they're actually going through and changing the people. It's perverted, you know? And that's kind of the whole, there's really something going on with that whole storyline where they're talking about a lot of that stuff anyway, with thought through hive minds and different things like that. It's all in the story. So like, to answer that is, it's a whole lot to get into, but the simple fact is they haven't really done anything like that. They've just shown Scotty Summers and Logan in a situation where they're understanding of the situation, that these two have that Jean and Logan had a thing. They have feelings for each other, and obviously he's got children with her and those kinds of things there as well. So it's almost like, what's that movie, Daddy's Home? It's almost like that, watching the first one and the second one, where, you know, you can see there was some tension there, and then they finally came to terms with it, and then that brings into other questions by the time you get to the sequel, where the one father's sitting there going, what's going on here? This is weird.
I haven't seen Daddy's Home since it came out in theaters. It was all right. It felt hindered by the rape, you know, kind of like Sex Tape. Sex Tape's a very edgy premise, but then they're like, we're a family movie, despite this whole thing being about let's make a porno. Then it gets released on the internet, and so like they chopped their knees out from under them, what they could do. I definitely want to see the sequel because I love John Lithgow and showing this whole sissy element to Will Ferrell. That's funny. And then seeing Cena come in to like one up Wahlberg, it's like, oh, this is some funny stuff set up. But I can't quite remember everything. What is it? Isn't it Mark Wahlberg's like the ex, but Ferrell's like the stepdad or the new dad?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I'll have to rewatch it. You know, it's one of those. I love Will Ferrell. He's got a good delivery in pretty much every movie. Crap. I think. Have you seen Anchorman 2?
Yeah.
I think Anchorman 2 doesn't get the credit it deserves for being a big social commentary about news, 24-hour news cycle. It's like, you know, why are we telling them what they need to hear? Let's tell them what they want to hear. And it's like, you know, I think it doesn't get the credit for that it deserves.
But no, there's some garbage comedy thrown in there.
Screw you. I love it all. That's Chicken of the Cave. I was just talking about the other day. I was telling someone that's
a good one. That's one of the good ones, though.
It's like, you don't know what you're talking about. You know what you're talking about, and you're racist. He's like, shut the hell up. Let's go over to a baseball game, watch the Mexicans hit some touchdowns.
Yeah.
I love that. And it definitely, like, to get where I guess the real meat is with like what he's trying to say subconsciously with the subtext of the news is a lot of fake crap to just appeal to your emotions. Takes a while to get to that, but I thought it was a really good follow-up. I want to see him do a 90s one, round out a trilogy of Anchorman if they got a story, and I think they could. But yeah, with going back to that bisexual Logan thing, I think it's kind of obvious, at least hinted at with like the imagery when they're celebrating and all that, and they're like, you know, all locked in a little trio, and it's like, yeah, we know what's going to happen here in the living situation. I think on the moon, with like them having a 3-way room set up or something. It never really bothered me because, like, I don't know how deep it is in the comics beforehand, but like the X-Men movies, it's very clear it's like a love triangle with Jean and Cyclops and Wolverine, and this is just a way to build on an element. It seems from what you're saying it doesn't really go deep into that, but I think that was compared to like, let's make Iceman gay when his whole history has been like a womanizer to some degree, a ladies' man, and then change that and it's like, oh, you're gay. What, you know, versus making a new character. But like for Wolverine, you know, he's this loner character. It's hard for him to invest because of his history of it always, you know, he's either like a Dracula and outlives them, or, you know, he's the reason they're in danger because of just who he is and the enemies he has. So for him, like, it would make sense to me that, like, you know, maybe that's not his orientation, but he could like hit it off with someone that could relate, especially another superhero. And being intertwined with the same girl, it makes a lot of sense setup wise. It could be one of those like not necessarily a cuckold setup, but like we both like the same girl. There's rom-coms I watched with my wife that are like that, where it's like two guys fighting over the same girl, and you know that both of them are screwing each other, you know.
Right. And that's the thing, is like a lot of people are looking at like, oh, it's messing with these, you know, these traditional family values and all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, like, we haven't really seen them go and do anything. But the other thing is like I said, they've established the fact that every time that these guys die and they're resurrected, their minds are changed. They're all kind of I can't even remember how they put it, but they're all made a little bit better. And Logan himself actually even made some comments after Domino had been resurrected. He's like, hey, kid, like, you're not yourself. Like, this isn't right. And he's also even questioned it himself. He's like, being here on Krakoa, it's weird. I can feel it messing with me. It's already established that they're all being affected with and all being messed with by Krakoa in the first place. So for me, that's something I'm just kind of waiting on, is all that kind of stuff, because I get people, you know, like people need clicks and views on YouTube videos, and you know, people not being themselves just doesn't help clicks. You know what I mean? It doesn't help for clicks and views.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's an unfortunate element that's YouTube's aided. Not saying that they should censor something, but it's like,
right.
Unless it's like a really awful movie and you have a very positive spin, like Cuties, or that one guy, you know, he's a villain because he's like, yeah, like I totally get what they're doing with this, and it resonated with me, and it makes me question myself and everything, and to be vague. Like he totally took away what the intent of that movie was, and everyone's like, this is a pedo movie, and it's like, okay,
right.
I can totally understand where that guy was coming from. Not having watched, just seeing the elements that they advertise and the premise, but it's like, you know, like that's where I'm interested to see where Star Wars goes, because it's like everyone's happy with Luke Skywalker and the possible tonal direction for Lucasfilm around the sequel trilogy and building forward. But if it just stays high like this and everyone's just liking it, where is the Star Wars coverage going to be for those channels that have built themselves off of owning and hating everything that they've done? You know, you don't get clicks if like, man, Star Trek's so great, or let me just stay back in the old Star Trek where it was fun and we liked it. You don't build that way. You build off the controversy, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. Like, if everybody's loving it, it makes it harder to criticize. If everybody's loving it.
Yeah, like Game of Thrones, if it wasn't for the delivery of the story, I don't think it would have blown up a lot of channels for the kind of 180 how they felt about it. Because for me, I look at the story and what Martin has done and what he ended. Because regardless of whatever he does with the books, the main storyline of the show is what's going to be the books. And it made a lot of sense to me. You know, like the hero doesn't get the hero's end.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily make sense he's got to be banished to the wall. There's no wall anymore. There's no threat to have the wall. But all these end threads made sense to me. It was just like the delivery. Like there's this edit for Daenerys where, you know, she raises King's Landing, and they did an edit where it's like showing like the events that would lead her to the snap. And it's like, if you just did that little montage for 20 seconds, you could totally make people buy that twist. For one instance, or like the Bran being the king, it's like, well, he's not a warrior, he's not violent, he's got this awareness, he's gifted, he's the king you don't expect. Same with Tyrion. Tyrion could have been the king, but yeah, it was just the delivery. It was just like the fight with the Night King, the delivery that where it's like the show's been built off of killing all the characters you love unexpectedly, and now it's like they're pinned down by the Night King and his horde, and like no one dies but like the cuck for Daenerys. Crap like that. The delivery, and then like, you don't have a better TV or something, you know. That was stupid. Yeah, just some of the execution. That one thread of Night King, like he could have just kept going to King's Landing, and you're stuck with your army behind this guy now that has to take no rest. That was probably the only real narrative issue that bothered me. And then Arya being the killer of the Night King, like, come on. This was clearly not supposed to be here. This is Jon Snow's win. Come on.
Yeah, I've never seen it, so I don't really know. I don't really know
anything. I thought you followed that. Oh man.
No,
but
I've never.
Even if like I just
I've never seen one episode, one show. I've never even seen it.
I definitely disagree with channels that'll be like the first 4 seasons are amazing, and then after the books are done so far, they just fell off the wagon. I don't buy that crap at all. These guys got picked by Martin to make the show because they understood the deep elements of what he was doing that wasn't made yet. He was talking there the whole time to make this show, so it's like I don't buy that. Like it falls off when they're in control and no Martin to really have the story in black and white form. I don't buy that. Definitely seeing like season 7 before 8 like some of the like loosey goosey delivery, but you know. But no, I read the first 2 books. Well, no, I think I read all 4 when I was in Afghanistan. And then I started watching. I'm like, wow, this show is so well done because it has this book that's written cinematically. So it's very well crossover between both mediums. I'm definitely interested to see the last 2 books from Martin. But yeah, it's a good series. The show's good. Horrible execution at the end. A lot of it's just editing and care and deliverance of the story. I think people could digest what he.
It was a Starbucks cup that ruined it for you, wasn't it?
No, that was stupid. Like, I never even noticed it, and they make this whole big thing. Oh, look, this show's so bad, they didn't even edit it right because of Starbucks. That's like, dude, you love the Mandalorian. They had like the jeans guy in there.
That's the YouTube incentive, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, looking back when Captain Marvel thing was blowing up, it kind of validated a point I had about Star Wars theory and like why we need like a film comic skate through Phantom Menace. But I was done with it. Like, once I got my point made, I was done. It's like, man, just think where my channel could have been if I kept hammering. Because I was getting thousands of views on those videos, just not even putting effort in, just like filming the computer like EVS without even the charm, you know?
Right.
It sucks having integrity to yourself sometimes.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, you're talking, one of the first things that got you back in comics was the Hydra story. So like, what started your channel? Was it that, or like where? Because I haven't dug deep into the back catalog of your channel before I found you.
No, certainly don't. No, it was doing all the clickbait news out there. That's kind of what's like, doing theory and speculation videos. Well, and see, the thing is, I think I just need to get back into doing some of those, because I wanted to do my own theories and speculation videos for the MCU. But then another thing that I ended up enjoying doing too was coming back and smacking down theories as well. And so that's kind of where it all started. I was just that kind of stuff, like, you know, just build like hype building for the MCU, I guess, you know, just theory stuff. And then after that, you know, it's kind of, I started reading comics. Let me go read a comic book. I was like, well, I got to have something else to talk about as well. I mean, I love movies, love comic books, you know, all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, we'll just talk about other stuff as well.
Oh, sorry, I'm watching you on screen, but it's delayed, so I was like, oh, he stopped. Yeah, it's weird for me. Like, with comics, I still consider myself a very much a novice with the medium, but I don't exactly know where I started. I know when I came back from Afghanistan, because I played Magic at a couple of the sites around Radcliffe and Louisville, I went to the comic store because I knew they sold Magic cards. And so then I bought Spawn 241, one of those issues right around there. And I didn't really understand the number system or anything. So I was like, oh, Spawn, cool. And then it's like, oh, there's 240 issues before this.
Right.
I'm like, shit, you know. And I think I went to the library here and there for some volumes. I wasn't really aware of like a graphic novel section at the library till later. It sort of started clicking, but I wasn't like deep into it. Definitely wasn't on YouTube. And yeah, Comicsgate, I would say, is really the epicenter of me trying to focus a bit on comics, both in the Comicsgate community and mainstream stuff at the LCS. Yeah, it's been weird. I enjoy it. It's just, it sucks the money. I'd like to be able to just fund every week, every month, whatever issues. Right. But yeah, it's not feasible. So a lot of times I'll buy a number one and then I'll try to follow online, but then I just fall off with other things captivating my interest, especially movies. I'm a movie guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
But yeah, no, you know, it's fine. I don't know if I told you this. I've told a lot of people this, but what got me on YouTube originally, just as a follower watching anything, was Force Awakens. It wasn't even speculation shit or anything or hyping up, oh, this is what's being leaked or developed. It was just looking up Star Wars news every day on Google. And guess who they referenced in the article? Guess who they referenced? Mike Zero. So he was a valid source in my startup and Star Wars coverage. So then I would follow Mike Zero because like, oh, he's got the newest leak. Oh my god, why even read the articles? I just see it from the horse's mouth. And so I started developing into like some Star Wars theory videos and Urban Acolyte, that douchebag. He was so funny to watch.
You're only mad because he came out and made fun of you.
Oh, I didn't care about that. It was just, well, even when he's trying to hit at me, he had to include Jeremy in the thumbnail to even get attention on it, So you can't come in directly. You got to tie in Jeremy into this when he's kind of just threw his hands up on the issue.
Good times.
No, that was funny. I have no regrets about calling it the 501st because I think since at least the Clone Wars, they've been tapped as special as background characters for Star Wars projects, and including the Mandalorian because of their budget. So Stormtroopers, a lot of those are 501st guys for free. So when they say we're just a charity group for cancer kids, like, no, you're fucking Access. That's why you're scared of Association of the Menace, because you don't want Lucasfilm to pull your freebies. Fuck y'all. Don't care. Fuck the 501st. But yeah, it's sad to see where Urban Acolyte went from before to after Last Jedi. His streaming of his own fans, it's like, I just want to watch your shit about Star Wars, but you gotta make a hit piece, not just on me, which I didn't care about. I mean, I responded, just for the clicks, and it was funny, but fucking he was enjoyable to watch even immediately after Last Jedi. It was like, okay, but then he's just kind of talking down to you if you don't like it. It's like, what the fuck, and he just went full bore with that. It's like, you don't like this, then fuck off. It's like how are you gonna build a channel that way? You're gonna pigeonhole yourself with just a few devout followers. But yeah, eventually trying to find spoilers for Last Jedi. That's how I found the bullshitters and got into their fan page on Facebook, and then eventually, surprisingly, not Star Wars, but Quiet Place, the movie John Krasinski. That's what got me started on YouTube. That's my first video as a content creator. Was A Quiet Place. It's kind of funny I didn't start with Star Wars, and even then, I did a lot of retrospective kind of essay videos, which I want to get back to this year, if time permits. But I'm still kind of in the air with my job. If they'll give me a schedule, I can fathom. Yeah, it's funny where Mike Zero's gone from where I found him.
I was gonna say I've never seen his videos, but I know the name.
Oh, dude, it's funny. Okay, you should watch a couple of videos. Go a couple years back, watch a video before Last Jedi, because everything since Last Jedi has been fake news from this dude, and he seemed to be kind of right at the fence too. And that after Ryan Johnson, dissed him, that's where he kind of clearly showed get rid of Kathleen Kennedy, fuck Ryan Johnson, he bought into kind of the menace narrative with this
lean into it. You got to lean into it.
Yeah, but he's just full of fake news all across the board all the time, and it's like two-thirds of his videos are just the same filler before he ever gets to the actual, this is the new thing I'm talking about. And it's every video is the fucking same. But
right, well, kind of what you're saying is kind of why I felt accomplished when Goose Wayne Batman ended up following me on Twitter. I was like, yes.
Who's that?
I think you don't know Goose Wayne Batman? Oh man, Goose Wayne, man, Goose Wayne. Oh, he's just some weirdo I seen on Dr. Phil. Runs around. He used to run around being Batman. Was one to fight crime.
Wait, is that the black guy with the bat suit and he had his own car? I don't know if he had a Batmobile or not.
No.
No, because there's this one guy I saw
basement dweller.
There's this one guy, a Batman obsessed guy I saw on YouTube who actually is
fighting crime.
Attempting to, yeah, I guess. Yeah. Really into suit. I think he's got a Batmobile, or at least his own nice car, and he's a patroller, and he's serious about it. I don't know if he's ever really done anything, or at least maybe his presence.
I know there for a while. After after Kick-Ass came out, there's an actual movement up in Seattle. They had a bunch of those people that were out there trying to be superheroes and all that shit. Yeah.
Dude, I love Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass 2 is a drop off, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, definitely.
Crap. Oh yeah, what I was gonna say is I don't know if you ever watched them, but you should watch I did 2 Mike Zero videos. It was early in the YouTube fan minutes, me joining all this, making content. But Drunk 3PO did Darth Maul video about Ray Park's Instagram got hacked. I guess someone grabbed his phone and just posted random shit. And so then like he was doing this like breaking news kind of spin on his stuff. And so I took that and I kept messaging like, hey, can I use your video? I got a great idea. Because I just did my Saint Germanus video for Jeremy, where I was like, this whole mock thing if I'm being a saint. And got a lot of good appeal from that for people. And I was just on this comedy kick for a minute on my YouTube channel. And something clicked with Mike Zero, like 3PO's video. I'm like, oh, you know what? This will be funny. I'll make fake news about a fake news creator. That's the premise of the video. And then I did a follow-up where and so it starts becoming the MZU, the Mike Zero universe.
Right.
It kind of fell off after that. So like I got an idea for
there you go, parody news.
I got an idea for number 3, but I don't know how much I want to invest trying to make it, because it's funny. So many people click on this and it's like, this is fake. And it's like, it says it in the freaking description, dumbass. Like,
right. Yeah. And those are some of the funnier videos to do. And that's probably the ones we should be doing. Cause I've done some of those as well, where like I used to go, you could probably search on my channel when I would do like the trailer park news. And it was like these little segments where I was just being silly and stupid. And that was pretty much about it.
Like Red Rooster when you went to Walmart.
Yeah, well, I mean, like one of them was like, one of them was like Lupita Nyong'o is going to be the next Wolverine.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, just some of that stuff, just silly, just doing silly stuff like Lupita Nyong'o. Yeah, like who's going to do that? Like, of course,
how many views did you get on that?
I'm not for sure, but I mean, why wouldn't the MCU do that? They're woke, right?
Oh, you know you should do.
I haven't had a quote from Kevin Feige in there.
Oh wait, what was the quote?
No, I can't remember. I made something up though.
Oh, you made it. Okay. I thought you were like you took some vague quote and extrapolated it to tell its narrative and validate. I did another fake news video last year. I thought I would get more coverage, but I kind of did like some of the sequel defenders spin, and it was like a Mike Zero style video. When that should have teed you in from the start. Is like I'm saying the same exact kind of like be sure to subscribe and like the cadence and all that. I was channeling that, but I made this argument with very vague realities about Star Wars that Rian Johnson's trilogy was coming. And people that follow me, they just believe it. They're like, fucking testing me, And I'm like, no, this is fake, dude. I just made it up. Like, but I just so convinced because I
watch out for people's delicate sensibilities.
I've used so many real elements and I put them all together and I trick people.
Right.
I'm just mad I didn't get more coverage because I use these a lot of sequel trilogy style defenses and spin and I was pretty saying like we can put this whole Last Jedi hate to bed kind of spin.
Yeah.
It's like his trilogy is happening.
Right.
I think this is one thing I've joked about, but I don't know if I put it in the video or not. If it was an actual trilogy, or if it was in the show, but I think one thing that could happen actually is he gets his trilogy in one of these Star Wars shows as episodes. And the prime one is, I think, unfortunately, Leslie Headland is doing the Acolyte show, which is like, why would you pick her for that? That'd be funny if that actually turns true. It's like, oh man, more Rian Johnson videos.
Right.
And some people are speculating that because Patty Jenkins said she used his or something, talking about the writer she's writing the new Star Wars movie she's doing with. So some people are like, is this Rian Johnson's movie? So I'm like, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's cool, man. I didn't know that about the start of your channel. I don't think I ever saw that Lupedia video, so I'll have to find that in your history. But yeah, no, thanks for hanging out. I didn't know how long you had. We probably keep going, but I'm just gonna call it a day. Let's go read some comics. I did. I was trying to find useful keywords for my new comic book review, because it's from a Blaze and they don't have shit on YouTube. And you have like one of the biggest videos about vampire state building.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to read that.
Really? Wow. I have to look
Is
into
it good
that.
or?
Yeah. It's a pretty good book. And I'm not really into vampire shit neither. I'm not like you're gonna write some vampire shit. It's got to be really interesting.
Yeah, vampires are cool concept, but it's like there's a reason everyone turns back to Bram Stoker's book because like no one's really done. Maybe Anne Rice, which I've never read or watched her stuff that is attributed to her, but she's like the only one that seems to have like made a market for vampires that's kind of can compete with Bram. It's like Jaws. It's not that Jaws is amazing. It's just it's like Alita. Alita is just the best adaptation of manga on like live action, and so people kind of give it a plus rating despite it being mediocre.
Right.
That's how I see like vampire stuff or like Jaws. Jaws is like the epitome of shark movies because like how else are you going to do a movie about sharks that's not
right?
I would say the Meg kind of found its way in competition with Jaws for a totally different style, but it's still just like a parody of what Jaws can be.
Right.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming by. Anything you want to say before we exit out of here?
No, not really. Nothing I can think of. You know, if you want to hear me flap my gums and sound like I'm smart, come check out my channel.
Yeah, I love your channel. Like I said, I never know what you're going to say about a topic, so it's always interesting. I'm always on my toes. Like the Star Wars Theory video, I expected something totally different, and you sound like a Menace channel. I was like, wow. Yeah, as for myself, I'm trying to do a video every day, not just spam, but I'm trying to just build an algorithm for myself. So appreciate any viewership. New thing I'm trying, like Myrtle Maniacs or John Mayall's got the Malin Militia. I'm trying to build the Bovine Batallion, trying to spin the cow into my channel. So yeah, any of y'all that want to support, which goes right back into the channel, either like buying comics or upgrading equipment or going into the Methgator chest for my Comicscape project, please do it through one of the ways in the description. I like super chats. It's cool, but I only get half of that. So if you want to send super chat, I got my phone always ready to read those through Streamlabs, or be a Patreon member for $1 a month. Very much appreciate that. Join the Bovine Battalion. Let's build something real. Hopefully I have Second Street on multiple times this year. Hang out with them more. Build a good panel and everything. Thank you all for joining. I'll talk to you all later.
Later.